I transmigrated into a world where women drooled and simped over men. I was Cameron York, an adult from Earth. I was trapped in the 18-year-old body of my parallel world counterpart. Here, women were stronger and men were expected to wait. A goddess said I could only go home by refusing that role. 2 mornings later, 3 women forgot how to work when I pulled off my shirt in a tattoo shop. One got a nosebleed, another offered me cash. I pointed at the dragon design again. I still want the tattoo. That was the problem. Every time I fought for control, another woman decided I was more attractive. I had already lost my life and my body. I would not lose my choices too. To understand the shirtless disaster, we need to go back 2 mornings to the blood moon that stole my life. 2 mornings earlier, after a late shift on Earth, I walked home beneath a red moon. My boss had dumped extra work on me, so I walked home muttering about work and being single. Then the street went silent. A bus stood at the curb with its doors open. Nobody sat inside. A coffee shop still had music playing. Nobody stood behind the counter. Every light had turned red, including the moon above the buildings. I called out. Nobody answered. Look, I had watched enough bad movies to recognize the moment a normal man should run, so naturally, I walked toward the brightest red light. The pavement tilted. My chest locked. The moon filled my vision. Then the city disappeared. The next morning, I opened my eyes in a pastel bedroom. My hands were smaller. Smooth skin covered thinner arms. My chest felt wrong. Even the air smelled like expensive face cream. I stumbled to the mirror and found a beautiful teenage boy staring back. He had dark hair, pale skin, and the kind of face advertisers would put beside words like delicate. I touched the glass. He copied me. My adult memories were intact. The body belonged to another Cameron York, my parallel world counterpart. I did not know where his consciousness had gone. Gone, displaced, dormant. None of those answers were available. That question hit harder than the mirror. Before I could process it, my father knocked on the door. Cam, get dressed, he called. Your best friend Alden will be here soon. You two still need groceries. Put on something light, your skin looks tired. I stared at the door. The voice sounded exactly like my father back on Earth. Hearing it from the other side of a stranger's door made my stomach drop. He opened the door, took one look at my bare face and frowned. No makeup? I checked behind me, just in case another son had appeared. Are you talking to me? My father stepped inside and touched my cheek. Who else? Your father's fiancée and her daughter are coming tonight. At least use concealer. He handed me a small cosmetic bag. I held it like evidence from a crime scene. A doorbell saved me. Alden Webb entered 5 minutes later. He was the host Cameron's best friend and another 18-year-old male senior. He was also the first person who proved the whole world had lost its mind. Alden wore a fitted cream jacket, glossy shoes, and enough skincare to survive winter on the moon. My father beamed at him. Alden, your complexion looks wonderful. Alden touched his cheek proudly. New serum. Then Alden looked at me and nearly folded. Cam, why are you dressed like that? I looked down. Jeans, black shirt, normal shoes. I spread my hands. Like a person? Alden pointed at my chest. Like a woman trying to start a fight. Your collar is open. My father gasped as if I had brought a motorcycle into the kitchen. That was when a host memory hit me. The memory gave me one rule. Stronger women had always held power. Men kept house, raised children, stayed pretty, and waited. Alden had just demonstrated the whole system in cream leather and skincare. The local Cameron had followed that script. His face and social life came with the body. I supplied the disobedience. An hour later, on the shopping strip, Alden tried steering me toward a salon. We can do your nails first, Alden offered. Then a calming mask. Maybe buy pepper spray. You've been acting reckless. I stopped walking. I need one thing. Alden brightened. A better lip tint? I pointed down the block. A dragon tattoo. Alden stopped walking. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Beautiful. My beauty-conscious best friend had suffered a system error. Cam, Alden whispered, men don't get dragon tattoos. Then today has educational value. Dragged him into the first tattoo shop we found. 3 female artists looked up from their stations. Their eyes moved from my face to Alden, then back to me. The lead artist crossed her arms. You're lost, sweetheart. The salon is next door. I placed a dragon design on her counter. Full shoulder. A second artist laughed. That would swallow you. I tapped the dragon. Good. Make it hungry. Alden grabbed my sleeve. He's stressed. We're leaving. I pulled free. The lead artist tapped my shirt. You'd have to show the shoulder. This isn't appropriate for a boy. The rule was simple. They thought embarrassment would make me retreat, so I took off my shirt. The room stopped. A pen slipped from the second artist's fingers. The third woman turned away, pressed tissue under her nose, and failed to look casual. The lead artist stared for 3 full seconds before shoving folded cash across the counter. Keep the shirt off! I pointed at the design. Tattoo first! She refused. I left with no tattoo and 3 women still staring. Alden held my shirt over my chest like an emergency blanket. Outside, Alden blocked the sidewalk. You stripped in front of 3 women. I held up a hand. They asked to see my shoulder. Alden pointed back at the shop. You showed them the entire economy. Behind the glass, one artist pressed both hands to the window. Another waved the cash again. I pulled on my shirt. They still refused the dragon. Alden stared at me. That's the part you're upset about? I nodded. Yes. Alden stared at me, then looked back at the women. You're going to get us killed. My first rebellion had taught me the world's favorite joke. The more masculine I acted, the more women wanted me. That evening, back at Cameron's house, my father's fiancée moved in with her daughter. Her daughter was Serena Armitage, an adult licensed medical professional and my future stepsister by social shorthand. Our parents were engaged, and the 2 households were already merging before the wedding. Serena carried 2 boxes through the front door without effort. Then she looked at me. She was tall, composed, and wearing a fitted black dress that briefly defeated my ability to form useful sentences. In my defense, the dress had arrived prepared for violence. Serena's gaze stayed on my face. Cameron? The way she said my name sounded familiar. It sounded dangerous to me. My father explained the bedrooms. Serena's mother opened wine to celebrate. I tried staying near the furniture and away from whatever expressions Serena kept giving me. That plan lasted 20 minutes. A little tipsy, Serena caught me in the hallway and wrapped both arms around me. You got prettier, she murmured. I got kidnapped by reality. Serena laughed, tightened her hold, and lifted my feet off the floor. I pushed at her shoulders. Nothing moved. She pressed closer, completely unaware or unconcerned that my brain had lost the next useful sentence. I shoved at her shoulders again. Put me down! Serena lowered me slowly. Still bossy. Still? Her smile changed for half a second. Then my father called us to dinner, and Serena walked away without answering. Serena could lift me without effort. Worse, she knew the old Cameron well enough to call me still bossy. What did she know about the boy whose body I had taken? After midnight, I was still awake in my bedroom when the Scarlet Moon goddess appeared beside my bed inside a red glow. She was the woman who had dragged me into this world, and she looked very pleased with herself. I sat up. Send me home. The goddess looked around the room. You complained about being a virgin, feeling powerless, and women ignoring you. I gave you a world where women chase men. I pointed at myself. You stole my body. The goddess spread her hands. I improved your dating market. The audacity was supernatural. I got out of bed and stood between her and the door, although we both knew doors probably meant nothing to her. What happened to the other Cameron? The goddess's smile stayed in place. She did not answer. I stepped closer. Then tell me how I go back. Her expression finally sharpened. Become a real man in this world. I waited for the rest. She gave me one vague condition, 0 instructions, and one threat. If I could preserve my identity and prove my masculinity here, I might return home. If I failed, I would assimilate into the local male role until the fight stopped mattering to me. I looked at the makeup bag on the desk, then I looked at the body in the mirror. The world had already taken my adult life, my strength, and control of my own name. I refused to let it train me into accepting the theft. How do you measure success? I asked. The Scarlet Moon goddess stepped backward into red light. That is your problem. I reached for her before the light closed. My hand caught empty air. The cosmetic bag slid off the desk and spilled brushes across the floor. One rolled against my bare foot. Then the red light vanished. Man, what a helpful cosmic criminal. I searched the papers. One headline warned men against overtraining, none mentioned portals. I considered recreating the blood moon, then checked the host's wallet and school account. I was 18, broke, weak, and knew nobody useful. Even Serena's hug had beaten this body. The cosmic criminal had planned this part perfectly. The next morning in the kitchen, Serena placed breakfast in front of me. She had tied her hair back and traded the black dress for work clothes. The effect on my attention remained unfair. You need protein, Serena told me. You're too light. I took the plate. This world isn't completely terrible. That sentence became a curse almost immediately. That same morning, my father packed lunch while Serena's mother left for work. The domestic roles looked normal to everyone except me. Alden arrived with 2 lipstick options. Warm rose or soft peach? Alden asked. I kept walking. Neither. I'm becoming a Chad. Alden blinked. Is that a skin condition? I looked back at him. It's a warning. On the walk to Westbridge Academy, my new private school, a broad-shouldered girl stepped aside and looked me over with 0 shame. I met her stare. Keep moving. She laughed, but she moved. Tiny victory. Then I tried running the last block to school. My lungs caught fire before I reached the gate. Alden passed me at an easy jog, stopped, and checked my forehead like a worried ant. You ran without stretching? Alden asked. I bent over, gasping. I ran 30 seconds. Alden nodded gravely. Exactly. This body was cooked. Minutes later inside Westbridge, Alden led me into homeroom. Every senior in my class was 18. I reached for a sealed water bottle on my desk. The cap would not move. I adjusted my grip and tried again. Nothing. A girl beside me offered her hand. Do you want help? I kept twisting. No! The cap held. Another girl leaned over. You'll hurt your wrist. I braced the bottle against my chest. I'm opening water, not fighting a bear. I twisted until my palm burned. The girl took it from me, opened it with 2 fingers, and set it back down. 3 other girls immediately offered to carry my books, open my lunch, and walk me between classes. Nobody laughed. That made it worse. At the tattoo shop, my body had made women malfunction. At school, the same body could not open its own water. The bottle loss gave me my next job. I needed strength, money, and a way home before this world decided pretty was the only thing I was allowed to be. After the bottle loss, in Westbridge's 2nd floor hall, I searched for a Muay Thai gym. The humiliation had given me a clean rule. Only my adult mind had crossed worlds. Muscle started at 0. Skills could transfer. Strength had to be built. That would have been easier if the hallway had stopped treating me like public property. 2 girls behind me discussed my skin, waist, and legs at full volume. A third walked backward just to keep looking. I turned around. You know I can hear you. One girl smiled. That's why we said it loudly. Welcome to being harassed from the other side. Educational. Deeply annoying. I saved the nearest gym's address before anyone could offer to carry my phone. Then someone caught my hand. Monica Easton was an 18-year-old classmate who had known the host Cameron for years. She was bold, blonde, and apparently unfamiliar with personal space. Monica rubbed her thumb across my palm. Your hands feel different. I pulled once. Her grip did not move. Release me. Monica leaned closer. You used to blush when I touched you. Then update your records. The words came out sharper than I intended. Monica's smile thinned. You really did change. She started massaging my fingers like she owned a salon booth. I twisted my wrist. Nothing. This world had turned hand-holding into a hostage situation. The English teacher entered the room and tapped Monica's desk with a book. Monica finally let go. Saved by grammar, Cameron. I flexed my freed hand. I was seconds from winning. Monica snorted. Sure. Minutes later in English, the teacher tested the host's academic record. She called on me with a difficult passage and the expectant look teachers reserve for reliable students. The local Cameron had been gentle, quiet, and near the top of the class. My adult English was even better. I translated the passage, explained the joke inside it, and corrected the answer printed in the workbook. The teacher checked twice. Alden slowly turned in his seat. Monica stopped drawing on her notebook. The teacher lowered the book. Cameron, your answer is right. Your tone is new. I gave her a small shrug. Better packaging. That earned a few laughs and several longer looks. Good. The body was weak. My adult knowledge still worked. Before lunch on Westbridge's outdoor court, a basketball girl hit 3 shots in a row while staring at me after each one. A male student brushed my shoulder, threw himself onto the floor, and accused me of pushing him. I looked at the 3 feet of empty space between us. He looked too. Even he knew the fall was fake, so he got up without another word. Then an 18-year-old girl handed me a confession letter before lunch. Alden counted the stack in my bag and sighed. That makes 20 today. Looked at him. You counted? Alden tapped the bag. I care about data. I took it back. You care about gossip? Alden nodded. Same industry. I could not open water, but 20 girls had confessed before lunch. Priorities. At lunch in the crowded cafeteria, every boy carried a tiny plate. A few had salad. One had half an apple and the expression of a prisoner. I ordered meat, rice, vegetables, soup, and another serving of meat. The cafeteria worker stared at my tray. Are you sharing? I took the tray. No, I'm training. The tray landed on the table hard enough to turn heads. Alden sat opposite me with a cup of yogurt. Cam, that meal has a family. I sat down. Good, I'm adopting all of it. The joke lasted until Corey Maddox, an 18-year-old male classmate, approached. Corey treated male beauty rules like religious law. He looked at my tray, then at my body, and smiled with immediate contempt. Trying to get huge? Corey asked. Women don't like greedy boys. I cut a piece of meat. Then eat your leaf and mind your business. His friends laughed before realizing they were supposed to support him. Corey's smile tightened. You'll get thick around the waist. Nobody will want you. He checked the girls at the next table after every insult. None of them laughed. I set down my fork. You starve because you think attention is the only thing you can earn, I told him. That sounds miserable. It also sounds like your problem. The nearby tables went quiet. Corey's face reddened. You think you're special because girls stare? I pointed at my tray. No, I think I'm eating lunch. He pointed at my tray. You're embarrassing every boy here, I told him, then stopped volunteering as their spokesman. Corey's eyes filled instantly. There it was. The cafeteria martyr reached for tears when the insult stopped working. Before Corey could turn the room against me, Alyssa Park, an 18-year-old classmate and the host Cameron's longtime admirer, stood up. She had watched Corey walk over and start the fight, so his tears did not fool her. Alyssa shoved her chair back. "He ordered food. You insulted his body. Why are you crying?" Corey looked at her like she had broken a contract. Alyssa crossed her arms. "Cameron can eat what he wants." One girl at the next table nodded. Another moved her chair away from Corey's group. The room stopped backing him in real time. Corey wiped his eyes and glared at me. "You changed." I met his glare. Finally, something we agree on. He stormed away with his friends, following 2 steps behind. Alyssa had flipped the room in public. That gave me 1 defender and 1 enemy who now needed revenge. Alden watched Corey leave. "You know he'll make this weird." I went back to eating. "He arrived weird." Alden nodded. "Fair." With Corey gone, Alyssa and Alden started arguing about a competitive arena game. Alyssa claimed the women's professional league was untouchable. Alden said a boy with enough practice could compete. I cut in. "The issue isn't reflexes," I told Alyssa. "It's map timing. Your favorite team keeps forcing fights before the side lanes move." Alyssa stared. "You watch professional matches?" Tapped Alden's phone. "I played for years on Earth." Alden leaned forward. "How good?" Looked at his build. "Good enough to know your favorite character build is criminal." Alden clutched his chest. "Personal attack." I pointed at his first item. "It became personal when you bought that." The old knowledge gave me another path forward. Fighting needed muscle. Gaming only needed hands, timing, and enough privacy to practice. Back in homeroom after lunch, Hazel Davenport sat alone by the window. She was an 18-year-old transfer student who had answered no questions, joined no groups, and looked ready to disappear into the wall. Every other desk had company. Hers did not. I pushed Alden toward her. "Go introduce yourself," I told Alden. He stiffened. "Why me?" I nudged him forward. "You're friendly." Alden pressed a hand to his chest. "I'm fragile." Hazel looked over. Alden immediately pretended to study a poster. I stepped around him. "I'm Cameron. This is Alden." He was about to say hello before fear took his knees. Hazel blinked. "Hello." "Progress." I pointed toward Monica. "That loud one is Monica. She knows everybody and respects no boundaries." Monica heard her name and dragged a chair over. "You called?" I pulled out the chair for her. "Hazel's new. Act normal for 5 minutes." Monica smiled at Hazel. "He asks impossible things." Hazel's mouth moved slightly. It was almost a smile. The quiet girl had answered. Alden had survived. Monica had acquired a new target for friendship. That evening in my bedroom, Serena leaned over my music player and noticed another change in me. She had finished work and changed into soft clothes. The outfit was simple. The woman wearing it remained a problem for my concentration. Serena tapped the speaker. "You hated this music." I met her eyes. "I don't anymore." Her eyes moved to mine. "Since when?" I reached past her to lower the volume. Serena moved closer instead. Too close. My back touched the bed. Serena planted one hand beside my shoulder. "You've been avoiding me?" "I've been avoiding being carried." Serena smiled. "You fit nicely." I told her. "That defense is terrible." She leaned another inch. My adult instincts told me to move. My new body forgot how, so I caught her wrist, turned with the movement, and rolled us. Surprise put Serena beneath me for 1 second. She was not fighting, which was the only reason physics allowed the scene. I pinned her hands above the pillow. Serena looked up at me without fear. Then a host memory tore through my head. A child's voice said, "You're mine. Wherever you go, I'll find you." The image came in fragments, small hands, rain, and Serena's face years younger. I could not tell which child had made the promise. I released her immediately. Serena sat up. "Cameron, the memory belonged to the host. The fear belonged to me." I stepped away from the bed. "I need air." Serena watched me leave without following. That answered nothing and made the household question worse. The memory gave me no answer. So the next afternoon, I went to a downtown salon and asked for the least pretty haircut available. The stylist lifted my hair and frowned. "Short?" I nodded. "Short, sharp, masculine." Alden sat nearby, flipping through style photos. "He means emotionally unavailable." I turned toward him. "Stop helping." The stylist promised she understood. 40 minutes later, she turned the chair toward the mirror. My hair was shorter. My face looked even cuter. I stared at the reflection. "How did you make this worse?" The stylist clasped her hands. "Worse? You look incredible. Can I use your photo for the salon page?" I shook my head. "No," she asked again. I faced the mirror. Still no. Real man backfire. Round 2. The shorter cut made me even cuter. That evening at home, my father reacted like I had shaved my eyebrows. "Cam, why would you cut it that short?" Before I could answer, Serena stepped between us. "He chose it," she told him. "It suits him." My father looked from her to me, sighed, and left to check dinner. Serena waited until he was gone, then opened a small velvet box. Black diamond earrings caught the light. I checked the box, then her face. Are these real? Serena smiled. Of course. Pushed the box back. I can't accept this. Serena pushed it toward me again. You can. Get my hand off it. I'm broke. Keep the price tag off me. Serena held the box closer. Relax. It's a gift for my little brother. My future stepsister was speed-running sugar mama territory, Serena added. Tell me what else you want. Anything. Serena could buy almost anything I needed. Every gift made my empty wallet harder to ignore. I closed my hand around the box. I was broke, so I kept the earrings. The next evening, while I was still looking for money I controlled, Alden burst into my room waving his phone. My romance novel got a contract. He had been writing romance fiction. Now a platform had signed it. I stared at the acceptance screen. Old world stories were new here. The gender roles were reversed, but greed, heartbreak, and dramatic idiots remained universal. So I opened a blank document. I wrote a story about a delicate prince surrounded by ruthless women, then made every woman regret underestimating him. Yes, I stole from my own suffering. Pain should pay rent. The next morning, the signing approval appeared on my screen. Alden read it twice. You wrote that in one night? I leaned back. I had research. Alden pointed at the date. You've lived here 3 days. Tapped the screen. Exactly. The contract was small. The money would be mine. My old knowledge had finally paid rent. That afternoon, celebrating the approval, I entered the neighborhood grocery store. Bethany Lowe, an adult clerk behind the counter, had the same face as a crush from my Earth memories. Bethany had once rejected my confession because she preferred muscular partners. That rejection belonged to my Earth life. Seeing the same store and face here was the disturbing part. I entered expecting the slim woman I remembered. Bethany turned around carrying 2 heavy produce crates under one arm. She was built like she could bench press the refrigerator. My old fantasy took one look at her shoulders and left the building. Bethany recognized the local Cameron immediately. You got cute, I tried answering. My vision narrowed instead. When I came back, I was sitting beside the freezer while Bethany held out a glass of water. Are you okay? Bethany asked. I took the glass. Perfect. Bethany pointed at the floor. You fainted. I got my feet under me. Strategic reset. Bethany laughed and offered her phone number. I stood too fast, thanked Bethany, and escaped before I embarrassed myself a second time. Back home that evening, Serena found me flexing the hand that had lost to a water bottle. You need actual strength, Serena told me. I flexed harder. I know. Serena placed her elbow on the table. Then prove what you have. 1 arm wrestling wager. Winner chose the loser's punishment. I sat opposite her and locked hands. Serena's fingers were warm. Her smile was worse. Ready? Serena asked. I tightened my grip. My ancestors are watching. Serena smiled. They should look away. She flattened my hand in less than a second. No struggle, no dramatic comeback, just immediate ancestral embarrassment. I stared at our hands. Serena tried not to laugh and failed. Choose your prize, I muttered. She moved to the couch, sat beside me, and rested her head on my lap. I looked down at her. That's it? Serena closed her eyes. For now. My arm had lost. My lap collected the prize anyway. This world kept converting defeat into intimacy, which sounded fun until you remembered every woman involved was stronger than me. Serena settled closer while my phone buzzed with Monica's group invitation. The outing would test whether I could protect someone without strength. 1 photo from it would destroy my privacy. That Saturday at the amusement park entrance, Monica turned the group invitation into a full operation. She had dragged Alden, Hazel, me, and several classmates out for what she called normal social development. Coming from Monica, that sounded like a threat. Alden's older sister arrived last. A host memory told me she had not seen this body in 4 years. She looked at me once, rushed forward, and hugged me hard enough to test my ribs. Cameron, you grew up gorgeous. Alden sighed. Please don't encourage him. Too late, I told him. I already checked. His sister pulled out her phone and snapped a picture before I could block it. I covered the lens. Delete that. His sister shrugged. It's 1 photo. That sentence aged badly. We entered the park, argued over rides, and eventually reached the haunted house. Monica assigned pairs with the confidence of someone moving game pieces. Alden protested. Nobody listened. I ended up with Hazel. Inside the haunted house, Hazel disappeared from my side. 1 second, she was holding the back of my jacket. The next, my hand found empty air. A fake corpse dropped from the ceiling. Sorry, buddy, I told it. I'm busy. I pushed past the prop and called Hazel's name. No answer. The next room had mirrored walls, a shaking floor, and 3 cabinets built into the set. I heard 1 soft breath behind the middle door. Hazel! The cabinet rattled. I opened it and found her crouched inside, arms around her knees. Her face had gone pale. Tears sat on her cheeks and she looked furious that I had seen them. The joke stopped there. I held out my hand. Come with me. Hazel stared at it. You don't have to explain, I added. Just take my hand. Her fingers closed around mine. She was stronger than me. Nearly every woman was. Inside that dark cabinet, strength had nothing to do with lifting weight. I led her through the remaining rooms. Every time a prop jumped, Hazel's grip tightened. I kept moving until daylight hit us. Then her knees buckled. Outside the haunted house, Hazel collapsed before anyone could catch her. I dropped first, guided her head onto my lap, and checked her breathing. Monica started shouting for staff. Alden froze. Two girls crowded in with contradictory advice. Water, I told Alden. Now! He ran. I massaged the tense muscles behind Hazel's ears and kept talking until her breathing steadied. A few seconds later, Hazel opened her eyes. She found her head on my lap and went completely still. You fainted, I told her. Hazel blinked at me. I noticed. I gave her a dry look. You're welcome. Hazel's cheeks warmed. Thank you. She tried standing too quickly. I caught her elbow and made her sit again. I can walk, Hazel insisted. I kept a hand on her elbow. Great. Prove it after the room stops moving. Her fingers stayed around my sleeve. You're ordering me around. I glanced at my shoes. You collapsed on them. I earned temporary management rights. Hazel looked down at the shoes, then back at me. They're ugly. That was her first joke. Tiny, dry, and aimed directly at me. I respected the violence. Monica looked at her, then at my lap, and folded her arms. Another classmate stopped offering water and started looking personally betrayed. There it was. Rescue, recovery, immediate jealousy. This world never let a clean moment stay clean. Alden returned with 3 bottles. I bought options, I pointed at Hazel. My hero. Alden narrowed his eyes. You sound sarcastic. I kept a straight face. I'm emotional. Hazel sat up slowly but kept one hand around my wrist. I could help her without winning a fight. The harder question was why the quiet girl had been so terrified of needing help. Because Hazel still looked pale, we escorted her home. An hour later, at Hazel's estate, a butler opened the gate to a house larger than my entire apartment building on Earth. The group fell silent. Alden checked the address on his phone. Hazel, you live here? Hazel looked embarrassed. Yes. The butler mentioned that Hazel's mother was the city mayor. Her father handled business overseas most of the year. The front doors were taller than the tattoo shop. Uniformed staff waited in the hall. That was enough to understand the money. Still, Hazel kept checking her phone. The butler brought water. Hazel looked up from her phone. Did my mother call? The butler shook his head. She's still working. My father? Still overseas. Neither parent had called. Hazel locked the screen, her shoulders lowered with it. The mansion stopped looking like a reward. The others talked about the park while she sat apart from them. I moved to the chair beside hers. When it gets lonely, call me. Hazel looked up. Why? Because being rich doesn't make an empty house less empty. She studied me for several seconds. Hazel asked, You want nothing? I pointed at the water. That would be nice. Hazel stood. Come with me. She led me downstairs, past a locked steel door, and into a private weapons room. Alden stopped at the threshold. Normal rich person friendship room. Great. Cases lined the walls. Hazel opened one and lifted her favorite pistol with careful hands. This is important to me, she said. You can have it. I stared at the gun. Look, some people give friendship bracelets. Hazel offered controlled firepower. Weapons were apparently this world's love language. I closed the case and touched her hand instead. Keep it. Give me your number. Hazel's expression softened. Friends for life? Hazel asked. I raised an eyebrow. That's a big contract. Hazel nodded. I mean it. Hazel held out her phone. If I call, you'll answer? Took the phone. If I'm awake. Her expression stayed serious. I gave in. Fine. Wake me. That earned the smallest smile in the mansion. Then she hugged me. Her arms tightened with martial strength she had not mentioned. My back immediately regretted the hug. I hugged her back anyway. The gun stayed in its case. Hazel's number went into my phone. The next afternoon, Alden and I stopped at a downtown fast food restaurant during a shopping trip. I tried keeping a lower profile with a cap pulled low over my face. Alden watched me adjust it for the 3rd time. Nobody knows you. I adjusted the cap again. I'm protecting the public. Alden flicked a straw wrapper at me. From what? Leaned back. Unexpected beauty. He threw a napkin at me. Across the room, a woman angled her camera toward our table. I noticed too late. She posted the picture before we finished eating. That night at home, Alden called and sent me screenshots. I learned the full chain. Someone recognized my jacket from the amusement park photo taken by his sister. Another account matched the face. Then the reposts multiplied. By then, my picture sat in the city's top 5 trending topics. Before midnight, the same repost chain had linked my face to Westbridge. The comments kept asking, who is he? Which school? Is he single? On the call, Alden kept scrolling. This is bad. I pointed at his sister's photo on my screen. Your family took the first picture. Alden raised both hands. My sister took it. I refused the distinction. Same criminal media network. Alden pointed at my cap in the restaurant photo. You're trending because you wore a hat like a celebrity. I refused to apologize. I wore the hat because I looked like one. That was when Alden became my unlicensed publicist. He had no license, no plan, and a direct family connection to the disaster. After I hung up, Serena met me in the living room with my trending photo open on her phone. "My little brother is famous," Serena said. I held out my hand. "Delete it." Serena tilted the phone. "It's my wallpaper." I stopped walking. Serena turned the screen toward me. The amusement park picture filled it. I pointed at the screen. "Why is my face on your lock screen?" Serena smiled. "For safety." I frowned. That sentence made it less safe. Serena's smile stayed sweet. "Women are dangerous, Cameron. Tell me before you go out. I can drive you." I could not prove what it meant. I could only see that she had saved my picture, tracked the trend, and started asking for control over my movements. This world was not completely terrible. Right on schedule, the trend reached my school. The next morning at home, Alden sent me a video from outside Westbridge Academy. Girls filled the sidewalk by the gate. Several held printed copies of the restaurant photo. One had a sign asking me to marry her. Alden called from behind the school fence. "They've blocked the entrance." A security guard tried clearing space. The crowd shifted 3 feet, then filled it again. My father watched the video and refused to let me leave the house. For once, I agreed. Getting educated was important. Getting carried into a stranger's car felt less educational. Fame had blocked school, so I turned the forced day home into a test. I opened the competitive game Alden and Alyssa had discussed. My old account was gone, but years of adult experience remained. The local Cameron's game history showed nothing serious. My mind knew every timing window. The first match felt slow. The second felt familiar. In the third, 5 opponents rushed me near their base. I baited the first ability, cut behind the tank, and dropped the first 2 before their support turned. The third chased. I used the wall to break her aim, then caught the last pair together. A pentakill, 5 opponents down in one fight flashed across the screen. I checked the replay once. The timing had crossed worlds with me. I leaned back. The weak body had finally obeyed something. That evening, alone at my desk, I opened my first livestream. I kept my face behind a dark mask and aimed the camera at my hands. The goal was simple: prove the game skill could become money without turning me into somebody's doll. The stream started with a handful of bored viewers. Then a high-ranked female professional entered my match on a lower account. Her viewers recognized the name and flooded the chat. She attacked early. It looked like she expected the unknown male player to panic. I gave up one small objective and let her chase. She followed me into a narrow lane. That was the mistake. I turned, blocked her escape, and killed her character before her support reached us. The professional typed, "Lucky." The chat exploded. The professional returned with 2 teammates. She saved her escape this time and waited for me to overreach. I let them take ground. She typed a smiling face in chat and pushed deeper. You know where this was going. I split the support from the fight, forced her escape early, and cut behind the third player. Her character dropped again. The cheating accusations arrived before the fight ended. One viewer wrote, "No boy plays like that." Another demanded, "Show the player." A third insisted, "Those hands are fake." I ignored them and took the map apart. Every lost lane forced the professional closer to the center. Every rotation gave my team another objective. When she finally committed to the last fight, I had already placed the trap. Her team collapsed. Mine ended the match. Only then did I hold both hands under the camera. "No software," I told them. "No substitute player, just hands." The accusations lasted 3 seconds. Then the chat found a new emergency. One viewer typed, "His fingers are gorgeous." Another begged, "Forget the face, keep the hand camera." I had proven I was male, and the audience responded by developing a hand obsession. Of course they did. The viewer count surged so fast the platform alerts overlapped. Share notifications stacked across the screen as people clipped the kills and the hand reveal. The chat moved too quickly to read. New followers filled the screen while viewers dragged friends into the stream. The professional stopped typing. Her audience stayed. My first stream had started as a private income test. It ended with a public win, a crowd, and clips spreading beyond people I could see. I thought recognition was the danger. I was wrong. One woman came with a knife and heard no as a challenge. The other came with a media empire and the same hearing problem. The morning after my first stream, Alden was at my house when the platform sent a contract offer before breakfast. My professional win had crossed their signing threshold. The clips were still spreading, so they wanted me locked down fast. Alden read the offer over my shoulder and whistled. "Cam, this is real money." I scrolled past the number. "I care about the leash." The platform wanted regular streams, promotional clips, and access to my public image. Alden immediately pointed at the easiest route. "Show your face," he told me. "Smile twice, retire before graduation." I looked at my unlicensed publicist. "You caused one citywide disaster already." Alden lifted both hands. "That was organic marketing." I typed 3 demands into the reply. Gaming stayed first. My mask stayed on unless I chose otherwise. No forced dances, cosplay, or offline appearances. The response came back within minutes. Accepted. My numbers had given me bargaining power. Beautiful. I had finally found one place where being treated like rare merchandise let me write the price tag. Then the same visibility followed me outside. The next afternoon after school, Alden and I walked home from Westbridge. 2 women had stayed behind us for 3 blocks. A third waited at the next corner. I caught their reflections in a dark store window and stopped. Alden followed my gaze. Please tell me they want autographs. I kept watching the reflection. One of them has a knife. Alden looked again. That feels less promotional. 1 block later, inside a rougher shopping strip, I pushed Alden toward the crowded avenue. I pointed him toward the crowd. Go home! Alden grabbed my sleeve. Cam, I can stay! Pulled my sleeve free. You can also call for help if I stop answering. He hated it, but he moved. I waited until he reached the corner. Then I turned toward the women following me. The woman in front had bright pink hair and a black jacket. She had the relaxed posture of someone used to other people flinching first. She stopped close enough to block the alley entrance. Cameron York, she said. You're prettier in person. I glanced at the knife clipped inside her jacket. You're worse. Her crew laughed. The pink-haired woman smiled. Zara DeLuca, I run this neighborhood. That was my introduction to the adult street boss who had decided viral fame counted as a dating application. Zara hooked 1 finger under my chin. Be my boyfriend. I'll keep you safe. I knocked her hand away. From you? Her smile widened. Look, I need you to understand how deranged that reaction was. Rejection pleased her. Zara drew the knife and laid the flat of the blade near my cheek. Pretty boy should be careful, she murmured. A scar would lower your value. There it was, the threat under the flirting. I drove my fist into her mouth. Her head moved half an inch. Mine hurt immediately. Zara laughed and caught my wrist. I stepped inside her reach and hit her ribs with my elbow. That strike made her release the knife from my cheek. I twisted free, but one of her women shoved me into the wall. Zara wiped her lip and looked at the smear on her thumb. Her eyes sharpened with interest. Zara stared at me. You hit me, flexed my aching hand. You noticed. She came at me again. I blocked the first grab, took the second against my shoulder, and kicked her shin hard enough to create space. She was stronger. I was angrier. Zara lunged again. I jammed her knife wrist against the wall and kept the blade away from my face. Neither of us had the clean finish she expected. Then a patrol siren sounded from the main avenue. Zara looked toward it, then at the crew watching her struggle with me. She folded the knife and stepped away. Zara backed toward the corner. This isn't over, Cameron. I rubbed my bruised shoulder. That line usually sounds cooler when the speaker wins. Her crew moved with her. Zara laughed all the way to the corner. Discount gangster Cupid had arrived with a knife, taken 2 hits, and left more interested. My real man Backfire had upgraded from embarrassing to dangerous. The next afternoon at Westbridge, a student filmed me during basketball practice. She kept the phone low, but the camera followed every time I moved. I took the ball, stepped behind the line, and sank a 3-pointer. The phone rose instantly, so I walked straight toward it. The student backed away. I caught her wrist before she could hide the screen. Who's paying? The student shook her head. Nobody. I turned the phone toward her. My face filled the recording. Try again. Her confidence lasted 2 seconds. Zara, she muttered. She pays for clear photos, more for video. I deleted the clip and the copies in front of her. Then I released her wrist. Tell Zara the next person filming me loses the phone. The student ran. Now I knew Zara was paying students for photos. She had traded direct force for paid eyes. Annoying. She was learning. That evening at the mall, Alden and I looked for a gift for Serena while reviewing the final streaming terms. The signed page accepted every boundary I had demanded. Alden read the signed page twice. They really folded. I took the page. They like money. Alden looked at my reflection in a store window. They also like your hands. I pointed at him. You are 1 comment away from unemployment. We reached the restroom hallway before Corey's friends stepped from both sides. They were the same boys who had laughed behind the cafeteria martyr. Corey had lost the lunchroom, so he sent friends to recover his status. One boy blocked me. Another grabbed Alden by the collar. You embarrassed Corey, the first boy snapped. I kept my eyes on the hand around Alden's shirt. Let him go. The boy holding Alden spat against his cheek. My next thought lasted less than a second. I punched him. He hit the wall and lost his grip. The other 2 rushed me. Then Alden stopped being decorative. He caught one wrist, turned under it, and dropped the boy across his knee. The second swung. Alden ducked, swept his ankle, and sent him into a trash can. I stared at my best friend. Alden wiped the milk-colored spit from his cheek. I have sisters. I stared at him. Why did you never mention you can fight? Alden straightened his cream jacket. You never asked. The boy on the floor cursed at him. Alden leaned down. Touch either of us again and I'll break your legs before my jacket wrinkles. There he was. My skincare specialist had hidden combat DLC. The boys stumbled outside and started calling someone. Naturally, they needed a stronger woman to finish the argument they started. Outside the mall minutes later, their girlfriend arrived as hired muscle. She was broad-shouldered, furious, and ready to punish whoever had touched her boyfriend. Then, she saw me. Her stride slowed. The boyfriend pointed at my face. "That's him! Hit him!" She looked me over once, then twice. "In my defense," I told Alden, "I didn't summon this." Alden folded his arms. "Your face did." The girlfriend cleared her throat and faced me. "Apologize, and we can end it." I pointed at the spit still on Alden's cheek. "He apologizes first," her boyfriend snapped. "Why are you taking his side?" She turned on him. "You spit on someone?" Her boyfriend pointed at his mouth. "He punched me." The girlfriend looked at him. "After you grabbed his friend?" The boyfriend realized his enforcer had changed teams. His mouth kept moving anyway. Terrible survival instinct. He called her useless. She grabbed his collar and shoved him against a parked car. The crowd around us laughed. A student lifted a phone and started recording. The girlfriend released her boyfriend, fixed her jacket, and looked back at me. "Can I get your number?" Her boyfriend made a sound normally heard from damaged appliances. I shook my head. "No." She accepted that better than Zara had. The crowd did not let her boyfriend recover. Then a bouquet of red roses entered the frame. Zara DeLuca walked through the crowd carrying flowers with one hand. With the other, she took the recording phone from the student. "My man doesn't need more videos online," Zara announced. I stared at the roses. "You threatened my face yesterday." Zara offered me the bouquet. "People grow," Alden whispered. "She grew flowers," refused the bouquet. Zara handed it to Alden instead, leaned close to him, and lowered her voice. "Tell Cameron to meet me at my bar at 8. Alden's smile vanished. Zara added, "If he misses it, I start collecting from his friend." I took the roses from Alden and dropped them into the nearest trash can. I met Zara's eyes. "I'll be there." Zara looked delighted. That woman heard agreement and ignored the threat required to get it. Walking red flag behavior. Before I could leave the plaza, a woman in a dark suit stepped between me and the street. She introduced herself as an assistant from Ashby Media Group. Then she turned a tablet toward me. My restaurant photo sat beside a clip of my masked stream. Her company had already connected my face and my channel. "Ms. Ashby wants to meet you." I lowered the tablet. "I have plans." The assistant reached for my arm. "This won't take long." I caught her wrist and threw her over my hip. She landed on the hood of the company car and stared at the sky. Alden blinked. "Cam." I shrugged. She grabbed first. The assistant sat up slowly. "Ms. Ashby said you might do that." I sent Alden the car's license plate and got into the back seat. A company watching me that closely was a problem I wanted in front of me. 20 minutes later, inside Ashby Media Group's executive suite, I met Lenora Ashby. Lenora was the adult CEO and head of the Ashby family. She stood behind a wide desk in a fitted suit. She was tall, controlled, and attractive enough to make irritation inconvenient. In my defense, the suit was doing hostile negotiations with my attention. Lenora gestured toward a chair. "Sit, Cameron." I stayed standing. "Your assistant tried to drag me here." Lenora looked past me at the woman rubbing her back. "She underestimated you." The assistant's expression said she had noticed. Lenora slid a contract across the desk. "Your face, game skill, and attitude are valuable. I can make you famous nationwide." I tapped the contract. "I'm already signed." Lenora pushed it back. "I can make that contract irrelevant." Lenora had just threatened my contract as a flirting technique. I pushed her offer back. "No." Lenora's fingers stopped on the paper. Most people probably thanked her before refusing. I skipped the worship sequence. The assistant moved behind me again. I turned, caught her shoulder, and sent her into the chair. Lenora crossed the room before I could reset. I threw a punch. She blocked it with one hand. I followed with an elbow. She stepped inside, caught my arm, and pinned it behind my back without changing her breathing. "Better than the footage," Lenora murmured. I drove my heel backward. She shifted aside and released me. Her eyes had changed. "I still refuse," I told her. Lenora smiled. "That makes you more interesting." Of course it did. Another real man backfire. This one owned a media empire. I left before she could invent a second contract. That night at Zara's bar, with an 8:30 safety deadline running, I entered her private room alone. Before leaving home, I had clipped a recorder inside my jacket, pocketed pepper spray, and carried a backup knife. I had sent Alden my location with one instruction. If I missed the 8:30 check-in, he called the police. The safeguard only mattered if I survived long enough to trigger it. A woman from Zara's crew locked the door behind me. Zara was absent. The underling sat across from me and placed a phone on the table. "We can take photos. We can edit video. People will believe whatever we post about a pretty boy in a private bar." The threat was clear. They wanted shame, control, and silence. I let her keep talking. She leaned closer. "Agree to Zara's terms, and nothing leaves this room." Her hand moved beneath the table. I saw the knife before she cleared the edge. I sprayed her in the face. She screamed and swung blind. I caught her wrist, slammed it against the table, and took the knife. Then I pulled her upright and locked one arm across her shoulders. The door opened. 3 gang members filled the hall. I pressed the stolen blade where they could see it and moved the underling between us. Back up! Nobody moved at first. The woman in my grip shouted at them to stop. One gang member's hands dropped. Another looked at the knife instead of me. The first stepped aside. The others followed. Their plan needed me frightened and alone. I had their blade and their own woman between us. Bad assumption. I backed through the hallway, kept the hostage between us, and reached the rear exit. Once the door opened to the alley, I shoved the underling back toward her crew and ran. My spray, their knife, and their hostage problem gave me the exit. At 8:27, I sent Alden the safe message. Then I called Zara. She answered laughing. Did you enjoy my bar? I played the part of the recording where her underling threatened fake photos and video. Zara stopped laughing. If you touch Alden or follow me again, I told her, the full recording goes public. Her voice went flat. You think that protects you? I kept my voice flat. It protected me tonight. I ended the call. Only after I was outside did the recorder matter. Zara's laughter was gone. Her crew had backed away while I walked out behind their own underling. The recording bought one quiet night. I expected Zara to answer with another knife. The woman who moved next owned a media empire. The next morning at Westbridge, 2 girls whispered that Ashby security had gutted Zara's crew. The usual lookouts had vanished from the shopping strip. Stores that had paid protection money opened without anyone collecting. One girl lowered her voice. Ashby Media Group found out Zara was using their name. I recognized the company immediately. Lenora had offered me fame the night before. By morning, Ashby Media Group had stripped Zara's territory. My recording had kept Zara away from Alden. The company had made the whole neighborhood move without asking me. Zara needed a knife. Ashby Media Group made an entire shopping strip change behavior before breakfast. That evening at home, Serena and I ate alone while our parents worked late. She had cooked too much food and arranged it like I had returned from war. I looked at the table. You know I went to school, right? Serena set another plate down. You've been losing weight. I tapped my chest. I'm trying to gain it. Serena pushed the plate closer. Then stop arguing with dinner. Fair. The woman had brought meat. After dinner, I finished a 2-hour game stream in my room. The channel grew, but slower than the first viral night. When I shut the camera off, Serena stood behind my chair and pressed both hands into my shoulders. Every muscle complained. I tried to turn. Are you treating me or interrogating me? Serena pushed me forward again. Both. Hold still. Her medical hands found every bruise Zara's crew had left. Then Serena asked why I kept putting myself between trouble and other people. I looked at Serena's hands on my shoulders. A host memory had already tied her to a childhood promise I could not finish. Because this is my family now, I told her. I'll protect it. Serena's hands stopped. Her breath caught once. Then tears slid down her face. The room stayed quiet. I turned and caught her wrist gently. Serena? She wiped her cheek and tried to smile. You said that before. I turned toward her. Before when? Serena looked away. A long time ago. She refused to explain. A promise to stay in this world forever would have been a lie. I gave her the promise I could keep. I squeezed her hand. While I'm here, nobody gets to use this family against me. Serena caught my hand and held it against her cheek. Her grip stayed gentle. That's enough, she whispered. That night, Serena lay beside me on top of the blankets and rested her head near my shoulder. She watched the ceiling until her breathing slowed. Before she fell asleep, she asked, What kind of woman do you like? I glanced at her. Why? Serena kept her eyes on the ceiling. Medical research? I counted on my fingers. Tall, strong, honest. Serena's mouth curved. Convenient, I added, and she respects boundaries. Her smile thinned by 1 degree. Serena warned me away from dating girls at Westbridge. High school romance gets messy. I looked at the bed. You're saying that while lying in my bed? Serena held my gaze. I'm family. Later, Serena asked me to grab a charger from her room. A romance novel lay open beside it. The cover showed a future stepbrother and stepsister staring at each other across a wedding aisle. I picked it up. A host memory hit before I could read the back. 2 children sat beneath a staircase during a storm. Young Serena held the host Cameron's hand and whispered, Even if they separate us, we're still family. The memory ended with someone pulling their hands apart. I set the book down and carried the charger back without asking Serena another question. The game channel was growing too slowly, so the next afternoon in a coffee shop, Maribel Sutton met me with 3 content plans. Maribel was the adult administrator assigned to grow my streaming channel. She had seen the numbers and decided my dignity was negotiable. She fanned the pages across the table. Dance clips, cosplay, masked fitness. I slapped the first 2 back toward her. No dancing, no costume flirting. Maribel looked at my face like I had declined free money. You'd triple your audience. I pushed the pages into her side of the table. I'd also hate my audience. She tapped fitness, masked workouts, 30 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week. That option could strengthen this body and pay me without selling the rest of the package. I took the 3rd page. Maribel smiled. Wear something fitted. I pointed at her. You almost lost the deal. Her smile widened. She had found the exact line and stepped on it for fun. At home, my father objected before I finished explaining. Exercise is private, he insisted. People will stare. Serena opened my existing contract and tapped the control clause. The mask stays on. Cameron controls the camera. Give him one trial. My father looked from her finger to my face, then raised one of his own. One stream. My father kept staring at the fitness page. Serena folded it shut before he could restart the argument. The trial was happening. My father did not look convinced. Serena had won the argument. She also kept the contract beside her like she had won that too. The following night in my bedroom, Serena watched my first masked fitness stream from behind the camera. The slot lasted 30 minutes. I started with push-ups, squats, and a short run on the treadmill. My body still tired fast, but it lasted longer than the 30-second disaster outside Westbridge. That alone felt good. Then the comments arrived. One viewer typed, "Turn sideways." Another offered a large gift if I removed the jacket. A third asked whether I gave private training sessions. The gift alerts kept ringing. I kept the jacket on and finished the circuit. Viewers stayed. The count held instead of collapsing after the novelty wore off. The gift total from 30 minutes passed what I had earned during 2 hours of gaming. A viewer sent another large gift just to ask whether I had a girlfriend. I looked at the alert. Efficient! Serena reached around the camera and covered the screen with her hand. Greedy, she corrected. I moved her hand. Paying customers. Serena pointed at the screen. Strangers buying access. To me, the gifts were income. Serena called them access and kept her hand near the end button. She stared at the comments until her jaw tightened. When the private session question appeared again, Serena reached over and ended the stream 1 minute early. I pulled off the mask. I was still live. Serena folded her arms. You were done. Stood. I decide that. Serena tapped my cheek sharply with 2 fingers. The move was sudden enough to turn my face. Then decide to stream less, she told me. I stared at her. The private session question still glowed on the frozen screen. Serena looked at it once, then left before I could press her. Hours later, I woke and found her asleep beside me. Her arm rested across my waist. She had climbed into my bed without asking and fallen asleep before I could object. Another host memory broke through. Young Serena stood between the host Cameron and 3 older children. One child had tried dragging him away. Serena knocked the child down, spread both arms and shouted, "We stay together, forever!" The memory ended on Cameron crying behind her. I looked at the adult Serena sleeping beside me. The host had trusted her. I still did not know why they had been separated or why she had returned now. At breakfast the next morning, Serena held up a new car key. I bought a car, she told me. I'll drive you tomorrow. I tapped the key against her palm. Did you buy transportation or supervision? Serena smiled. Yes. I still needed strength I controlled. Later that morning behind Westbridge's gym, Hazel agreed to train me. Hazel Davenport had already shown me strength at her estate. Now she revealed the source. My grandmother started my martial training when I was 6, Hazel explained. I never stopped. She wore black training clothes and tied her hair back. The quiet heiress looked unfairly good while preparing to hurt me. In my defense, respect for athletic excellence is a serious virtue. Hazel raised both hands. Attack. I stepped in with the combination I had used on Zara. Hazel slipped outside the first punch, caught my elbow, and vanished from my sight. She tapped my shoulder from behind. Again, Hazel ordered. The second attempt lasted longer. I tracked her feet, forced her to change direction, and nearly caught her wrist. Hazel's eyes brightened. Better. That one word hit harder than the gift alerts. My body had improved enough for an expert to notice. On the third attempt, Hazel disappeared behind me again. 1 second later, she stood behind me. Her arms wrapped around my chest. Win, Hazel whispered near my ear. I tested her grip. Your scoring system feels biased. Hazel tightened the hug and licked the edge of my ear. My entire body forgot the lesson. I broke her grip and turned. Why did you do that? Hazel looked genuinely puzzled. Monica's relationship videos showed women doing it. Of course Monica had supplied the tutorial. She caused problems even when she was absent. I pointed between us. Those videos skip the important part. You ask first. Hazel nodded seriously. May I do it again? Held up one finger. Also, you only do that with someone you actually want. Hazel kept looking at me. I want you. That answer arrived with 0 warning and excellent eye contact. I cleared my throat. Then keep it exclusive and ask before trying anything. Hazel nodded again. Only you. Had accidentally negotiated exclusivity during a sparring lesson. Alden arrived near the end of training and found Hazel standing too close. Hazel asked me, "Can we communicate now?" Answered, "No." She touched my sleeve. "Now?" Answered again. Alden looked between us. "What does communicate mean?" I picked up my water. "You value your peace. Keep walking." Hazel followed me toward class. Now? Kept walking. Still no. The running gag had acquired stamina before I did. Later that day in the school hall, Lenora's assistant stepped into my path and handed me a phone. Lenora's voice came through immediately. "You rejected fame," she told me. "That was the wrong offer." I leaned against the wall. "Dragging me into another meeting won't improve it." Lenora ignored the jab. "You want strength? I can give you elite trainers, equipment, medical support, and private facilities." The offer hit the one goal money and beauty could not satisfy. I looked through the gym doors at Hazel, correcting Alden's stance. Lenora added, "Work with me, Cameron. I'll make that body capable." "And what do you get?" I asked. "Access," Lenora answered, "to your training, your progress, and your time." I still distrusted her. I also needed strength to satisfy the goddess and survive this world. Lenora had finally offered something I could not dismiss in one breath. I had not answered her when Serena reminded me about the new car waiting for tomorrow. By first bell the next morning, Westbridge had already turned every powerful woman around me into one ugly rumor. The next morning at Westbridge, Serena's new supercar stopped in front of the student crowd. The door lifted, every phone lifted with it. Serena leaned across the seat. "Text me after class." I stepped onto the sidewalk. "Try not to buy the school before lunch," Serena smiled. "No promises." The car pulled away, leaving half the gate staring at me and the other half staring at its price. Then a teacher called my name. Minutes later in the staff office, a forum post sat open on her screen. The headline claimed wealthy older women were keeping me for entertainment. It used Serena's car, my viral photos, and screenshots from my stream as proof. The comments had already added Lenora's company and several imaginary hotel rooms. Look, I had been accused of many things since arriving here. Being a luxury subscription was new. The teacher folded her hands. "Cameron, the school needs an explanation." I read the post once, then called Serena. "Come back to the gate," I told her. "Someone turned your car into a kept boy rumor." Serena's voice went cold. "I'm coming." The teacher started discussing privacy and school reputation. I let her talk until an engine stopped outside. Serena entered the office in work clothes with the same car key hanging from one finger. Students crowded the hall behind her. She looked at the post, then at the teacher. "I'm Serena Armitage," she said. "My mother is engaged to Cameron's father. We live in the same house. I'm his future stepsister, and the car is mine." Serena turned toward the watching students. "If anyone thinks driving family to school proves a sexual arrangement, they should explain that logic with their full name attached." Nobody volunteered. One girl deleted her repost in front of me. Another asked who had written the original. By the time the teacher closed the browser, Serena had already turned the hallway against the rumor. I walked Serena back to the gate. She adjusted my collar. "You attract strange problems." I looked at the car key in her hand. "You bought a car shaped like a confession." Serena's fingers paused at my neck. "Next time, let me handle the rumors sooner." I pulled my collar straight. "I handled it." Serena lifted an eyebrow. "With my entrance," I held up my phone. "With my phone call." Serena smiled. "Teamwork." The public shame was gone. Then I noticed Alden had missed first period. Monica found me outside class with her phone in hand. "The post came from an account tied to Corey's group," she told me. "Alden confronted them this morning." I looked toward Alden's empty desk. The cleared rumor had exposed the real attack. Before lunch, behind a locked men's room door, Alden called my name. I found a mop handle jammed through the outside latch. I ripped it free and opened the door. Alden stood near the sinks with milk soaking his hair, jacket, and shirt. His bag had been dumped into a wet corner. The joke stopped there. I kept my voice flat. "Who?" Alden wiped his face. "Corey's friends." Corey watched. He tried smiling. "It failed. They wanted me to say you were sleeping with older women. I told them to choke." I picked up his bag and handed it to him. "Good answer." Alden looked at the floor. "They locked the door after." Corey had mocked my food and sent boys at us in the mall. Then he posted a sexual rumor and humiliated the friend who stood beside me. I was done giving him warning shots. I took Alden straight to the cafeteria. Corey Maddox sat with the same boys who had run from us at the mall. His smile disappeared when he saw the milk on Alden. I placed my phone beside his tray. The forum post filled the screen. "You have two options," I told him. Corey leaned back. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pointed toward the hallway. "A camera faces the bathroom entrance. Monica traced the account to your group. Post the truth now. Otherwise, I send the timestamps and Alden's condition to every parent and student who shared your lie." Corey looked at the surrounding tables. People were already listening. He tried one last bluff. "The school will handle it." I leaned closer. "I'm giving you the cheaper option before they do." Alden stood beside me in soaked clothes. The nearest table stopped eating. Corey opened the forum. His hands shook while he typed that the rumor was fabricated. He named himself and his friends. Then he admitted they had targeted Alden after the post failed. I made him read the correction aloud. By the second sentence, the cafeteria martyr had lost his audience. A girl at the next table unfollowed him. One of his own friends moved away. Another stared at her tray. Corey finished the post and looked up. Happy? Took my phone. You still think this was about my mood? Then I walked Alden out. His own name sat under the confession. One of his friends moved tables before we left. The school could add punishment later. Corey had already lost the room. As I closed the forum, Ashby Media Group's name still sat in the rumor screenshots. At lunch outside the gym, I showed Hazel the post and asked how much power Lenora actually had. Hazel answered with one comparison. My mother is the city mayor. The Ashby family deals with her as an equal. That was enough. Lenora's assistant called while Hazel was still beside me. Ms. Ashby left a major negotiation and wants your answer, the assistant told me. I looked at the phone. Tell her leaving work early is her problem. Hazel waited until the call ended. She wants you. I pocketed the phone. I noticed. Hazel's eyes narrowed slightly. For training? I looked at Hazel. Among other control issues. Hazel moved half a step closer. Tiny movement. Loud message. That evening at a downtown restaurant, Serena ordered a private celebration dinner for surviving the school scandal. The same restaurant hosted private corporate dinners upstairs. I noticed the reversed restroom symbols before I noticed any executives. The women's sign showed a broad figure in a suit. The men's sign showed a narrow figure holding a cosmetic bag. After one drink that was stronger than I expected, my earth habits won. I entered the women's restroom. A hand grabbed my jacket and pulled me into a stall. Lenora Ashby shut the door behind us. The CEO final boss wore a dark evening dress and the expression of someone pleased by criminal timing. In my defense, the dress distracted me for several seconds. Annoying. Then Lenora pinned one hand beside my head. Still refusing my offer? She asked. I braced one hand against the stall wall. You left the negotiation to hide in a restroom? Her phone buzzed. The screen showed a conference call waiting. Lenora silenced it, pocketed the phone, and kept watching me. You're more interesting. I glanced at the stall door. That is a terrible business model. Lenora moved closer. Zara used Ashby Media Group's name while collecting protection money. I removed her people, so the empty territory was her work. I asked, did you do that for the company or for me? Lenora touched my collar. Does the answer change your gratitude? I kept my hand near the latch. I'm still searching for it. Her smile sharpened. She blocked the stall door with her body and reached for my chin. I slid both hands to her waist and tickled her ribs. Lenora jerked back with a shocked laugh. I slipped past her, opened the stall, and walked out while she recovered. Cheap move, Lenora called after me. I looked over my shoulder. Effective move. The restroom attendant stared at us. Lenora's assistant appeared at the entrance holding a tablet and looking exhausted. The negotiation is waiting, the assistant told her. Lenora kept watching me. That woman had an empire, a boardroom, and apparently unlimited time for my boundaries. Late that night at home, Serena helped my half-conscious body to bed. The drink had hit harder than expected. I remember her removing my shoes and pulling the blanket over me. Then I felt her lips against my neck. My eyes opened. I caught Serena's wrists, rolled, and pinned her beneath me. She stared up at me, breathing fast. For one dangerous second, attraction and anger pulled in opposite directions. I released her wrists. Then I kissed her forehead and moved to the far side of the bed. Sleep, I told her. Serena said nothing. I passed out before she left. The next morning, red marks covered one side of my neck. I found Serena in the kitchen and pointed at them. What happened? Serena inspected the marks with professional calm. Alcohol allergy. I touched the marks. On one side of my neck? Serena nodded once. Very localized. Her answer was nonsense delivered with a medical license. I remembered enough to distrust it. Alyssa, the Westbridge classmate and longtime admirer who had defended me in the cafeteria, had called during the night. My phone showed Serena had answered. When I returned the call, Alyssa answered on the first ring. Why did Serena answer your phone? She demanded. I gripped the phone. What did she say? Alyssa's voice tightened. She told me to stop pursuing you. Now I knew the call had happened. Serena's motive remained hers to explain. The next afternoon behind the school gym, a male classmate grabbed my collar before Hazel's lesson. Colton Avery was an 18-year-old streamer. He named Alyssa before I could ask what he wanted. Stay away from Alyssa, Colton snapped. I looked at his fist in my shirt. She isn't property. Colton tightened his grip. She chased you for 2 years. I met his eyes. That sounds like a conversation for her. Colton pulled me closer. The host Cameron had avoided fights. Hazel's training had given this body another answer. I trapped his wrist, stepped across his balance, and threw him over my hip. Colton hit the ground shoulder first. A sharp pop ended the argument. He screamed and grabbed the joint. The students nearby stopped laughing. I crouched beside him. You started a fight over a woman who never asked you to. Colton glared through the pain. You think you're better than me? I looked at his shoulder. I think your shoulder voted. His friends carried him toward the nurse. The strongest women around me could still overpower me. Colton had grabbed me and left in his friend's arms. Alden arrived late and stared at Colton being carried away. Cam, did you do that? I pointed toward Hazel. You're training with us. Alden looked at Hazel, then at Colton's shoulder. That sounded like a threat. I clapped Alden on the shoulder. It was an invitation. During core training behind the gym, Hazel lifted the edge of her shirt to show how she braced her abdomen. Defined muscles crossed her stomach. I lost the next useful thought. In my defense, the training demonstration had excellent production value. Hazel noticed me staring. "Do you want to touch?" I asked permission once more. She nodded. I pressed 2 fingers against the muscle while she tightened it. "Unfair," I muttered. Hazel looked pleased. "You can have them." That answer bothered me. I stepped back and tested the pattern directly. "Give me all your money." Hazel reached for her phone immediately. I caught her hand before she opened the account. "Why did you agree?" Hazel lowered her eyes. "That is what friends ask from me." Alden stopped stretching. I handed Hazel's phone back. "Real friends let you refuse." Hazel looked at me. "Even you?" Held her gaze. "Especially me." Hazel lifted her chin. "Then I refuse to give you my money." Nodded. "Good," Hazel added. "I also refused 10 more sit-ups." I considered it. Accepted. 5. Alden pointed between us. "That negotiation lasted 3 seconds." Hazel smiled. I reached for her phone to set the next timer. She pulled it back. "Ask first," Hazel told me. Good. She had said no, kept her money, and stayed beside me. After training at dusk, I walked home along an unusually empty block. The shops were open, the sidewalks were clear, even the traffic light changed for nobody. Then I saw a childlike girl crouch near a bus stop, crying over a torn candy wrapper. She looked about 12. I approached because leaving a child alone on that street felt worse than stopping. She held out a piece of candy. "Is this one sour? Should have walked away." Instead, I took it and bit down. Yes, I accepted candy from a stranger on an empty street. My adult judgment was apparently useless after sunset. The sweetness turned chemical. My knees failed. The child caught my shoulder with adult strength. The street went black. When I woke, my wrists and ankles were tied to a mirrored bed. The room reflected me from every wall. The childlike woman sat at a vanity removing a wig, makeup, and prosthetic pieces. I stared at her real face. She looked over. "I'm 30. Tested the restraints. Congratulations." She stood and checked the restraints. "My employer wanted you unharmed." I looked at the cuffs. "Your employer has a strange definition." A door opened behind her. Lenora Ashby entered. She dismissed the operative with one look and sat across from the bed. I pulled once against the restraints. "You drugged and kidnapped me." Lenora crossed her legs. "I ordered the pickup. You kept refusing meetings." I tested the knot. "That defense should get you studied." She smiled. "You already are." I used what I knew as a weapon. Lenora Ashby, CEO of Ashby Media Group, head of the Ashby family, trained fighter. Enough reach to gut Zara's territory. Lenora listened without blinking. I pulled at the restraints. "And you still kidnapped a student because he refused a meeting?" "That is a ridiculous use of power." "I requested one," Lenora replied. "I refused. That created a problem. For you," I told her. "So why am I tied to the furniture?" Her smile said she had been waiting for that question. Lenora leaned forward. "Before the Scarlet Moon, Cameron York posted fan edits of me. He wrote that assertive men embarrassed themselves. He had never thrown a punch." The host had admired her. I stayed silent. Lenora continued. "His game account showed casual play and no advanced rank. Days after the moon, you beat a professional in public." Then she pointed toward my bruised hands. "The old Cameron avoided physical conflict. You threw my assistant, fought Zara's crew, and dislocated Colton Avery's shoulder using trained movement." I tested the cuff after each fact. The knot held. Lenora had my old posts, my public win, and my bruised hands. Every cheap excuse was gone. "This is Cameron York's body," she said. "The soul inside it changed under the Scarlet Moon." I stopped pulling at the restraints. Another human finally knew I was not the original Cameron. I pulled against the restraints again. "What do you know about the moon?" Lenora's expression changed from amused to serious. "Ashby Media Group funds a private research team studying Scarlet Moon anomalies. Your change is the strongest case we have." There it was, the first human lead that might actually take me home. Lenora placed a short contract on the bed. "I fund the research, pay you, protect you, and give you access to the findings. You cooperate, train under my supervision, and live where my security can reach you." The last condition sounded like another cage. I looked from the contract to the restraints. "You want cooperation? Untie me." Lenora released one wrist. I swung at her. She caught the punch, rolled me onto my stomach, and smacked my backside once through my clothes. "That," Lenora said, "was for throwing my assistant." I twisted around. "You are proving every accusation I made." Lenora looked delighted again. The smack humiliated me. The research still held the first credible route home I had found, and Lenora controlled it. By the time I got home, Serena could smell Lenora on me. Both women were about to start asking questions, neither wanted the other to answer. Late that night at home, Serena smelled Lenora's perfume before I cleared the hallway. She was waiting outside my room in a robe, arms folded. Her eyes moved over my wrinkled clothes, bruised wrists, and missing patience. "Where were you?" Serena asked. I kept walking. "A meeting." Serena stepped in front of me and caught my collar. "With Lenora Ashby?" That perfume had survived drugging, restraints, and my attempted punch. Impressive product. Terrible timing. I removed Serena's hand. "She forced the meeting." Serena's expression went still. "Did she touch you?" "Yes, that's why I'm going to shower." Her fingers tightened around the fabric again. "What did she want?" "Access to my training." I kept the changed soul accusation and Scarlet Moon research to myself. Serena knew neither secret, and Lenora had already turned both into leverage. Serena looked at the marks on my wrists. "Cameron, I got out." The bruises showed how much that answer left out. Serena released my collar and stepped aside. "Give me those clothes," she told me. "I can use a laundry basket." "I know." Her tone ended the discussion. I changed, showered, and slept badly. The next morning, the clothes were gone. I checked the laundry room. Empty. Then I found a blackened shirt button beside the outdoor trash bin. A thin strip of scorched fabric clung to it. Serena walked past carrying coffee. I held up the button. "Aggressive laundry cycle?" She took one calm sip. "The perfume wouldn't come out, so you burned the shirt." Serena looked at the button. "You needed a new one." Look, I couldn't prove a whole bonfire. The blackened button still made laundry a hard sell. Before I could press her, my phone rang. Lenora's name filled the display. Serena watched me decline the call. 5 seconds later, Lenora sent one message. It read, "I checked Serena Armitage's timeline. She moved into your house within days of the Scarlet Moon. Ask why." I read it twice. Lenora had investigated Serena. The charred button suggested Serena had destroyed every trace of Lenora's scent. Then Serena's phone lit up on the counter. A message preview showed a man asking whether she had reconsidered dinner. Serena turned the screen toward me. "He won't stop." I frowned. "Block him." Serena handed me the phone. "You do it." I looked at her. "Why?" "He knows I live here. I want him to understand I'm unavailable." The message thread looked suspiciously clean. It contained one invitation and one photo, both perfectly timed. At the time, I thought Serena was testing whether I cared. I pressed block anyway. Her smile appeared immediately. "Happy?" I asked. "Very." Handed the phone back. A notification opened beneath my thumb before the screen locked. The group title used my full name. I saw dozens of saved photos, outfit discussions, stream clips, and arguments over which angle made me look cutest. Serena snatched the phone back. I stared at her. "You have a private fan group about me? It's for safety. Safety keeps getting creepier every time you explain it." Serena slipped the phone into her pocket. "People post your location. I monitor them." That explanation covered part of the screen. It did not explain why someone had raided my sleepwear. Both women had started digging around the host's life while I stood between them with half the memories. The next day at Westbridge, before I could question either woman again, Colton Avery challenged me before first period. The 18-year-old streamer rival still wore a shoulder brace from our last meeting. Apparently pain had taught him nothing. Colton held up his phone. "Gift battle tonight, face cameras on, and the winner takes the ranking." Students gathered before I answered. He wanted a public rematch where popularity mattered more than technique. I looked at the brace. "You need another loss that badly?" Colton smiled. "Your channel survives on women staring at you." I stepped closer. "Then bring viewers." 2 girls laughed. A boy behind Colton raised his phone. Colton's smile hardened. "8 tonight. Try not to quit early." That night in my room, I turned on the camera and accepted. Alden sat off-screen with snacks and the focus of a man attending public execution. "You're showing your face," he whispered. I checked the frame. "One battle." Alden adjusted the light. "Your unlicensed publicist approves." I didn't ask. That has never stopped me. The 2 streams linked. Colton opened with a polished smile and 3 times my viewers. "We play 3 matches," he announced. "The audience can gift either side. Total support decides the winner." Then Colton looked into his camera. "Maybe Cameron can finally earn attention without attacking someone." Alden leaned toward my microphone. "His shoulder has forgotten who signed the cast." I muted Alden before he became evidence. The first match started. Colton chose the safest character on the board and played for clean highlights. I took the riskier role and hunted him. He escaped the first fight with 1 sliver of health. His chat celebrated like he had won a championship. 2 minutes later, I baited the same escape, cut off his route, and dropped him under his own tower. My viewers exploded. The second match went worse for him. I stole the central objective, broke his team's formation, and ended before his audience could finish typing excuses. By the third match, Colton stopped smiling. He started insulting my viewers between deaths. That was when a yacht gift crossed my screen. Then another. Then the alerts became a wall. The sender name belonged to Lenora Ashby. The counter climbed past 100. Colton stared at his screen. 200. Alden forgot the snacks. 400. Colton demanded a platform check. The count kept rising. 990 virtual yachts filled my side of the ranking. The platform showed no dollar figure. The count alone crushed his lead. The public leaderboard flipped so hard his own chat followed it. Colton ripped off his headset. "This is rigged," he snapped. "You're being kept by rich women." I leaned toward the camera. "You challenged me to a gift battle." Colton's mouth opened. I added, "Someone gave gifts. Keep up." Alden slapped both hands over his face to stop laughing on microphone. Colton rage quit before the third match ended. His viewers flooded my stream anyway. The reputation merchant had challenged me in public, lost the games, lost the ranking, and rage quit before the finish. He was cooked. I ended the stream and called Lenora. She answered on the first ring. "I'm returning the yachts," I told her. Lenora sounded amused. "They were gifts. They were a territorial missile." "You won," Lenora replied. "I was already winning." Lenora paused. "That confidence is why I sent the remaining 900. I hung up before she could make the number flirtier. The next afternoon at home, I was still trying to return Lenora's yachts when she called again. Serena had just driven me from school and stood beside me, watching the screen over my shoulder. I answered. "What?" Lenora's voice sharpened. "Someone is following you." Serena leaned closer. "Who is that?" I covered the phone. "Insurance." Serena looked at me. "Your insurance calls like an angry woman? Premium service?" Lenora heard enough. "Come outside, now!" I ended the call before Serena could take the phone. Serena caught my sleeve. "Where are you going?" "To deal with the yachts." That answer was ridiculous enough to be true. Outside the house, a black convoy occupied half the curb. Lenora stood beside the lead car in a long coat. Her assistant waited near the rear door with the expression of someone who remembered being thrown. Serena watched from the front window. Lenora noticed her and smiled without warmth. "Great!" 2 final bosses had made eye contact across my lawn. I walked to the curb. Subtle. Lenora opened the rear door. "Get in." "No." She lowered her voice. "A person has followed you since school. My team is nearby, but I need the follower to move first." She pointed toward a side street. "Walk 30 meters into that alley. I'll stay close." I studied the dark entrance. "You want me as bait. I want the attacker away from your house." Serena was still behind the glass. I wasn't pulling an armed follower toward my front door. I sent Alden my location, looked at Lenora and said, "If this goes wrong, I'm haunting your board meetings." Lenora's mouth curved. "Fight first, haunt me later." 30 meters into the side street, the masked attacker charged. A black hood hid her hair. A cloth mask covered her face. The first strike came straight for my throat. I stepped outside it and drove my forearm into her elbow. She spun, caught my shirt, and tried throwing me into the wall. Hazel's training saved me. I dropped my weight, hooked her leg, and swept both feet out. She hit the pavement. I followed, trapped one wrist, and pinned her shoulder with my knee. For one clean second, I had her. Then she bucked hard enough to throw me sideways. She rolled up and pulled a knife. The blade came toward my ribs. Lenora caught the attacker's wrist before it landed. She twisted once. The knife hit the pavement. Then Lenora ripped the cloth mask down. "Zara DeLuca," Lenora said. Pink hair spilled from the hood. Zara stared at me with murder in her eyes. Discount gangster Cupid had retired the roses. "You took everything," Zara snarled. "My street, my crew, my name." Lenora stepped between us. "You used my company name to extort people. I took the street. Cameron only embarrassed you." Zara rushed her. Lenora stepped through the punch and drove one clean strike into Zara's chest. Zara folded onto the pavement. She tried standing and attacked again. Lenora knocked her down a second time. This time, Zara stayed there. I had dodged, swept, pinned, and survived the weapon. Lenora finished the stronger opponent after the fight had already started. I kept breathing. Getting rescued still stung. Minutes later, beside the same alley wall, Lenora told me what Colton had done after rage quitting. "He hired someone to take compromising photos of you," Lenora said. "One of my people intercepted the order. His platform contract is gone, and nobody got near you." So Colton's public loss had produced a separate attack. Zara had come for revenge. Colton had paid for shame. 2 clowns, 2 plots, same target. Lenora stepped closer. "You hung up while I was warning you." Serena was standing beside me. "I noticed." She said those 2 words with open jealousy. Lenora caught my chin. "What are you doing?" "Punishing you." She kissed me before I could move. It was stolen. My body still answered for one stupid second. I kissed back, then I pushed her shoulders and broke contact. Lenora looked satisfied. I wiped my mouth. "I agreed to the alley." "I didn't agree to that. I'm 18. You don't get to drug me, restrain me, or collect kisses like fees." Lenora held my gaze. "Move into one of my protected residences. Accept the research contract. This stops happening." I pointed toward my house. "Leaving my family puts me inside your cage. You would be safer. You'd have easier access." Her silence answered for her. I added, Reject the move-out clause. Take back the 990 yachts. Then we can discuss the Scarlet Moon research. Lenora's smile returned. You think you're negotiating? I'm walking away. I did. I walked back toward the house. Lenora stayed beside the convoy, still holding the Scarlet Moon research I needed. Serena watched from the front window. I had kissed Lenora back for 1 second. Going home suddenly felt more dangerous than the alley. Later that night in bed, Lenora's kiss put Serena in my head. I couldn't tell whether that pull was mine or the host's unfinished attachment. So the next morning at Westbridge, I stopped feeding the ceiling my problems and walked toward the relationship that felt earned. Hazel met me near the window before class. She wore black stockings beneath her uniform skirt, and I forgot my next sentence. In my defense, the quiet heiress had discovered legwear and weaponized it. Hazel noticed me looking. Do you like them? I recovered badly. They appear functional. Hazel looked down. For what? Destroying concentration. Her mouth curved. I placed a small box on her desk. Hazel opened it and found an AK-style rifle pendant on a silver chain. It was jewelry, not an actual firearm. With Hazel, that distinction needed stating. You tried giving me a real gun as a friendship gift, I told her. This seemed safer. Hazel lifted the pendant carefully. It looks like mine. That was the point. She fastened it around her neck, then touched it twice like she expected somebody to take it back. How much do you want? Hazel asked. Nothing. Her fingers stopped. Hazel looked at me. What do I owe you? You trained me. I wanted to thank you. She sat beside me, still holding the pendant. My old friends asked for money, Hazel said. They wanted rides, gifts, and access to the house. Nobody gave me anything unless they wanted more. I had tested her obedience with money because I thought refusal would protect her. Now I understood why she had asked what she owed. This is yours, I told her. You don't owe me a thing. Hazel's eyes went wet. She lowered her face before anyone else could see. Then she moved onto my lap. I caught her waist before she slid. You skipped a step. Hazel rested one hand on my shoulder. May I sit here? You're already sitting here. May I continue? I looked at the pendant against her uniform. Yes. Her body relaxed against mine. Alden walked in, saw us, and stopped at the door. He pointed at the pendant. Did you buy Hazel a tiny rifle? I nodded. Her friendship language is armed. Hazel looked at him. Cameron promised a bracelet next. I looked at her. I said I could find one. Hazel tightened one arm around my neck. Promise. My unlicensed publicist backed out of the room. I'm leaving before this becomes another communication lesson. Hazel kept one hand over the pendant and the other around my neck. She had asked first, and I had said yes. That same day after lunch in homeroom, a male student tried to shame me with a prohibited adult item. He reached beside my desk and lifted it from the floor. He held it up where half the class could see. Cameron, he announced, this fell out of your drawer. The room turned toward me. I looked at the object, then at the open drawer. Interesting, I told him. People keep putting things in there when I'm gone. He smirked. Sure. Stood and took one step closer. Put your trash in my desk again, and I'll return it to your locker with your name taped across it. His smile weakened. I added, large letters. Your admirers deserve clarity. Several girls laughed. The student dropped the item onto my desk and backed away. That should have ended one ugly joke. The next morning, another item appeared. A boy near the windows asked whether the rumors were true. I opened the drawer in front of him and showed the fresh scratches around the lock. Someone keeps using my desk, I told him. Watch who gets nervous when I say that. He looked across the room. Colton looked away first. By the third day, whispers followed me between classes. A few students stopped sitting near my desk. More started watching it. Whenever I mentioned the scratches, girls checked Colton before they checked me. The room had started making the same prediction I had. Hazel arrived before me and guarded the drawer like an armed museum guide. Alden called it subtle. Nobody agreed with him. By the fourth morning, another item had appeared, and the smear was predictable. Colton had lost to me with fists and on stream. Now his eyes kept jumping toward the drawer whenever I spoke. The class had a suspect. I needed the next hand inside the drawer. Even the students who still avoided my desk stayed close enough to watch Colton from a safe distance. Before classes that fourth day, Alden, Hazel, and I entered the empty room. Alden mounted a tiny camera inside a shelf opposite my desk. Hazel fixed a simple trigger inside the drawer. One opening would trigger the beep and start the recording. Whoever reached inside would still be standing there when we returned. Alden checked the frame. I still think glitter would help. I closed the drawer. We're catching him, not decorating him. Hazel looked at the trigger. Can I break his arm? No. After the beep, I closed the drawer. Still, her disappointment worried me more than the camera. We left the room and waited down the hall. 10 minutes later, the sensor beeped. I reached the doorway first. Colton Avery stood over my open drawer with another prohibited item in his hand. His shoulder brace was gone. His common sense remained missing. The camera light blinked behind him. Colton saw it and froze. I leaned against the doorframe. Caught in high definition. His face drained. Then he pointed at the camera. You planted that. I looked at the item still in his hand. Excellent defense, hold it higher for the lens. Two students passing the doorway stopped. Colton looked at them, then at the blinking light. His public confidence disappeared before his hand lowered, then he lunged for the shelf. I blocked him. Colton shoved me hard enough to hit a desk. 3 male students rushed from the hall behind him. They had been waiting to seize the recording before anyone else arrived. Good. Colton had brought witnesses and attackers to his own exposure. Elite planning. The first boy grabbed the shelf. Alden tackled him into the wall. The second swung at me. I caught the arm, turned under it, and drove him across a desk with Hazel's throw. Colton rushed the camera again. I kicked the chair into his path. He stumbled, hit the floor, and the prohibited item skidded beneath another desk. The third attacker caught me from behind and twisted my collar into my throat. I drove my heel into his shin, but his grip held. Then Hazel entered. She saw his fist in my collar! Her expression disappeared. Hazel crossed the room and drove her knee into his face. Blood ran from his nose as he dropped. Colton tried crawling toward the camera. I planted my foot on the shelf before he could reach it. Done, I told him. Colton looked at the blinking light, the item under the desk, and his friends on the floor. His whole plan had recorded its own funeral. Behind me, Hazel dropped onto the bleeding attacker, seized his throat with both hands, and squeezed. His face changed immediately. Hazel. She did not release him. I grabbed her wrists. Hazel, look at me! Her eyes stayed on the boy. He hurt you, she whispered. He's down. He'll do it again. Pulled harder. Then he answers while breathing. Hazel finally looked at me. I used that second to break her grip and drag her back. The boy rolled onto his side, coughing. A teacher reached the doorway after the fight had already turned. She saw Colton beside my open drawer, the item on the floor, the blinking camera, and 3 boys unable to stand straight. The teacher had arrived for cleanup. We had already handled the fight. Later that day, the school expelled Colton for planting the item and attacking us. That evening, I walked home through cold rain, exhausted from the fight and from dragging Hazel off the attacker's throat. That night at home, Hazel answered my call in a whisper. I'm in the warehouse, she told me. I sat up. What warehouse? The dark one behind our estate. My mother uses it when I embarrass the family. Her voice shook. The staff won't open it, Hazel added. They're afraid of her. I grabbed my jacket. Then Hazel added, the staff control the front gate too. They won't let you in. I stopped with one sleeve on. Charging a locked mayoral estate alone would get me stopped before I reached Hazel. So I stayed on the phone. Tell me what you can hear, I said. Hazel breathed once. Rain, pipes, something moving near the wall. It's probably a rat, Hazel whispered. I hate rats. Then keep talking to me. Don't listen to it. I'm here, I told her. Keep talking. She told me the room was cold. I told her to keep her hands inside her sleeves. She asked whether I was angry. I'm angry they locked you there, I said. I added, I'm also angry you kept squeezing after I told you he was down. Hazel went quiet. Then she whispered, I thought he would take you. He didn't. Was scared, answered. I know. Her breathing slowly evened out. I kept the call open until she stopped answering and fell asleep. Colton was gone. Hazel was still locked in the dark because she had protected me. By morning, the rain, the fight, and the sleepless call collected payment for me too. The next morning at home, Serena found me feverish after the rain. I tried getting out of bed and made it 2 steps. The floor tilted. Serena caught me before I hit it. You're burning up, she told me. I'm improving my internal temperature. Serena put me back under the blanket. You're sick. Her adult medical training ended the argument before it started. She checked my temperature, brought medicine, and fed me soup while I complained about the spoon. I can feed myself. Serena held the bowl just outside my reach. Then sit up without swaying. Sat up. The room moved. Serena raised one eyebrow. I opened my mouth. She put the spoon in it. Brutal, efficient, and impossible to appeal. For most of the day, she stayed beside the bed with her laptop and one hand checking my forehead whenever I moved. At noon, I tried walking downstairs for water. Serena caught me halfway through the doorway, lifted me under the knees, and carried me back like the argument weighed nothing. Put me down! Stop trying to fall down! I protested. I was walking. Serena placed me on the mattress and tucked the blanket around my waist. You were negotiating with gravity. Gravity was winning. Hated how safe her arms felt. That comfort made the dependence problem worse. When I woke near evening, Serena was still there. Her laptop had gone dark. She slept in the chair with 2 fingers against my wrist, as if she had fallen asleep counting my pulse. You missed work, I said when she woke. I moved it. You don't have to watch me all day. Serena closed the laptop. I'm willing to take care of you for the rest of your life. The room went quiet. She did not laugh or soften it. I looked at the woman tied to childhood promises I still could not finish remembering. Serena! She pressed the medicine into my hand. Take this first! I swallowed it. She left before I could ask what the rest of your life meant. I kept the medicine in my hand and watched the door close. At 2 in the morning, from the same bed, I answered Lenora's call. Her name appeared while the house was dark, and Serena slept down the hall. I whispered, Do CEOs not own clocks? Lenora's voice sounded wide awake. I couldn't sleep. That feels like a personal problem. She ignored me. That trained movement you used on Colton was Hazel Davenport teaching you? I stared at the ceiling. You called at 2 in the morning to ask about Hazel? I can arrange professional instruction, Lenora replied. Private trainers, better facilities, a security path if you want a bodyguard career? She said professional training. She had called at 2 in the morning, named Hazel first, and offered to replace her. Professional, sure, Lenora added. I can train you against adult women, not schoolboys. I looked at the dark ceiling. Is this concern or jealousy? Professional assessment. At 2 in the morning? Lenora paused. I said I couldn't sleep. You also said kidnapping was a meeting. Your labels need work. You kissed back, Lenora replied, for 1 second, then I pushed you away. Remember both. Lenora paused. I added, good, your memory works. Lenora started saying my name. I hung up. Some people send flowers after rejection. Lenora offered career infrastructure at 2 in the morning. The CEO final boss had no off switch. After sunrise, Serena left a note beside my medicine. The first line read, breakfast is downstairs. Take the second dose after eating. Do not train today. Beneath it, Serena added, come choose my outfit before I leave. That request had no medical value whatsoever. I found Serena in her room holding 2 jackets over a fitted top. Black or gray? She asked. I pointed at the black one. That one, it matches your personality. Serena smiled. Elegant? Threatening. She lifted the gray jacket to compare it, and the hem of her top rose along one side. A small tattoo curved along her ribs. I lost the next sentence. Serena noticed my eyes and lowered the fabric slowly. Do you like it? I cleared my throat. I support art. In my defense, Serena murmured, you were staring. I pointed at the black jacket again. Wear that and leave before my fever returns. She laughed, pulled on the jacket, and kissed my forehead. Then she left for work. After Serena left, I called about the $50,000 tip reward. I wanted money without conditions. The program was Ashby funded, so Lenora controlled pickup. Of course she did. That afternoon at Ashby Media Group, a company guard joined me in the elevator. She wore a dark uniform, kept one hand near her radio, and stared at my face through 3 floors. I looked at the numbers above the door. Is there a problem? The guard straightened. 2 floors later, she looked again. Then the woman folded completely. I've seen your streams, the guard blurted. I think I fell for you before the elevator reached 10. I checked the floor display. That's aggressive timing. The guard stepped closer. Can I have your number? Before I answered, the doors opened. Lenora stood outside with her assistant. She looked at the guard, then at the distance between us. You're fired, Lenora told her. The guard's face collapsed. Ms. Ashby, turn in your badge. The guard dropped to her knees before the doors finished opening. It was one question, she begged. Please, stepped between Lenora and the guard. Rehire her. Lenora's eyes moved to me. She abandoned professional judgment. She flirted in an elevator. You kidnapped a student. The assistant stared at the wall. Smart woman. Lenora crossed her arms. My employee broke a rule. I pointed at the guard. Then warn her. Firing her because she looked at me makes me the weapon. Lenora held my gaze. The guard stayed on her knees, hands shaking around her badge. I had come for money. Now the guard was kneeling between us, and Lenora was waiting to see whether I would let it happen. Fine, Lenora said. Win it back. She turned and walked into the executive suite. Seconds later, inside Lenora's office, she opened a polished case and removed a rare luxury cigar. The cigar looked old, expensive, and ridiculous. Lenora held it between 2 fingers. I toss it, she told me. If you catch it before I do, the guard keeps her job. Miss, and you stop questioning my staffing decisions. The rule was simple. 1 throw decided 1 worker's job. The guard stood near the door, barely breathing. I rolled my shoulders. Hazel's training had improved my reactions. Zara's knife had tested them. Lenora had seen the result in the alley. The wager mixed power, flirting, and somebody else's paycheck. Very Lenora. I wanted the job, and my $50,000. Lenora tossed the cigar high. She moved before it reached the top. I read her first step, cut across the desk corner, and jumped. Her fingers brushed the wrapper. Mine closed around it first. Momentum carried Lenora into me. She hit my chest, caught my shoulders, and drove us both onto the couch. The cigar stayed in my fist above her head. The guard made a small sound by the door. Lenora looked down at our position. You're touching me! I stared at her hands on my shoulders. You tackled me. You intercepted valuable property. You made it a game. Lenora's mouth curved. That confidence is attractive. I held up the cigar. The guard keeps her job. Lenora stayed over me 1 second longer than necessary. Then she stood and adjusted her jacket. She stays, Lenora told the guard. The guard's knees almost failed again, this time from relief. She thanked me, retrieved her badge, and left before Lenora could reconsider. I placed the cigar on the desk. Lenora looked offended. Do you know what that costs? My reward is 50,000. That cigar is worth 60,000. I looked at the small brown object. So your office just made me wrestle over tobacco worth more than my entire reward. Lenora smiled. You won. I'm beginning to think rich people need supervision. Her assistant placed a phone-sized payment screen in front of me. The amount read $50,000. The money hit my account. My body had gone from losing to a water bottle to beating Lenora's hand by half a second. Lenora kept watching after the payment cleared. Every boundary made her push harder. I stood and pocketed my phone. We should meet less, I told her. Lenora leaned against the desk. You came to my office. For money I earned. Lenora tapped the desk. You saved my employee. I opened the door. From you. Her smile sharpened. And you still came closer. Open the door. Enjoy the cigar. The money solved my cash problem. It did nothing for privacy. When I got home, Serena was waiting with a hidden album, and she did not want me to see it. That evening at home, Serena and her friend snapped an album shut the second I entered the living room. Serena's friend hugged the thick album to her chest. Serena kept one hand on the cover. A loose photograph had slipped onto the couch. The host Cameron looked several years younger in it, smiling beside Serena. A handwritten date marked the border. A newer print underneath showed my restaurant trend. Another came from a fitness stream. The photos ran from childhood to last week. I told you not to interfere, Serena warned her friend. Her friend glanced at me. I was only saying this is a lot. I held out my hand. Then let me judge how much. Serena pulled the album back. It's private. I kept my hand out. So are my photos. Before Serena could hide it behind the couch, I caught one corner. The cover opened. One page held the host Cameron as a child beside Serena. The next held recent pictures from the amusement park, my streams, and Westbridge. Some dates came from years missing from my host memories. Serena had kept a clearer record of this body's childhood than I had. I looked at her. How long have you been collecting these? Serena closed the cover between us. The old ones belonged to me. The recent ones were public. Her friend edged toward the door. Serena keeps everything connected to... Serena's fingers tightened around the album. Don't interfere. Her friend stopped mid-sentence. She grabbed her purse and left without looking at either of us. I waited until the front door closed. You just scared your friend silent over pictures of me. Serena carried the album toward the stairs. She was being dramatic. I followed her. She looked scared. Serena kept climbing. She worries too much. I pointed at the album. You have childhood photos I don't remember, recent photos I never gave you, and a private fan group rating my sleepwear. Serena stopped on the first step. Her face stayed calm. Her grip did not. I kept what mattered to me, Serena replied. I asked, what exactly am I to you? Serena took the album upstairs and locked it away instead of answering. 10 minutes later, upstairs in my room, I saw an unfamiliar man standing across the street. He stayed beside a parked car and watched our house instead of the road. He checked the front door, then studied the upstairs windows. That was enough. I opened the curtain wider so he knew I had seen him. Serena entered behind me and followed my gaze. I pointed across the street. Do you know him? Serena barely looked surprised. He's a suitor. I kept watching the man. The one you had me block? Serena gave the window a quick glance. Maybe. The man checked the upstairs windows again. I stepped away from the curtain. A date waits for an answer. A watcher studies windows. Serena caught my sleeve before I reached the bedroom door. I know why he's here. I can handle him. I looked at her hand. How sure are you? Serena kept her eyes on the street. He won't come inside? I reached for the doorknob. That wasn't reassuring. Her grip tightened. He knows better than to cross the gate. Serena had identified him before I finished reaching for the door. I turned the knob. Then tell him to leave. Serena looked at my hand on the door. Would it bother you if I dated him? I faced her. It bothers me that he's outside our house. Serena moved closer. That wasn't my question. Held my ground. You asked the wrong one. Her fingers slid from my sleeve to my wrist. Do you have a girlfriend? I answered. No. Serena's shoulders loosened. Serena murmured. Good. I studied her face. Why is that good? Serena held my wrist for another second. Because I want to keep you close, I asked. As family? She released me and closed the curtain herself. Serena could carry me with one arm. One direct question still made her retreat. The next morning at Westbridge, Alden told me Hazel had been isolated since the fight. Students had watched her nearly choke one boy unconscious. Her mother's punishment had only made the rumors uglier. I found Hazel alone beside the classroom window. The AK-style pendant rested against her uniform. Every desk around her had empty space. Two girls stopped talking when I approached. A boy gathered his books and moved before I reached the row. I put my bag on the empty desk beside Hazel and sat down where everyone could see me. Hazel looked at me. They think I'm dangerous, I answered. You were dangerous. Her fingers closed around the pendant. I touched the little rifle. You also stopped when I pulled you back. Both things happened. Hazel lowered her eyes. Are you afraid of me? Shook my head. No, she asked. Are you angry? I kept my voice plain. I'm angry they locked you away. I'm angry you kept squeezing after he was down. Hazel nodded once. Hazel admitted. I thought you might avoid me. I leaned closer. I stayed on the phone while you slept in that warehouse. Hazel looked up. I told her, the class is scared. I still came here. Her hand covered mine over the pendant. The students nearest us stopped whispering. One girl moved her chair back toward Hazel's row and unpacked her books beside her. At lunch, Hazel led me to an unused practice room beside the cafeteria and locked the door. Voices moved past outside. Inside, Hazel stood between me and the only exit. I eyed the lock. This lunch meeting feels heavily regulated. Hazel stepped closer. Girls in class mocked me. Asked, what did they say? They said I didn't understand kissing, Hazel replied. They said that's why I follow you. I waited. Hazel's fingers touched the pendant again. Then Hazel asked, will you kiss me? The request was clear. I still checked the reason. I asked, do you want me or do you want them to stop laughing? Hazel looked straight at me. I want you. I want them to stop deciding what that means. I lifted one hand to her cheek. Tell me if you want me to stop. Hazel nodded. I will. I leaned in first. The kiss started gently. Hazel caught the front of my shirt. Her shoulders relaxed, then her grip tightened as she kissed me back. The careful girl from the haunted house had made one clear choice. Her other hand touched my wrist, leaving me room to pull away. I stayed. Someone tried the door from outside. A girl in the hallway called Hazel's name. Another classmate knocked twice. Hazel pulled back far enough to answer them. We're busy. The hallway went silent for one beautiful second. Then 3 voices started whispering at once. Hazel looked at me and kissed me again. I respected the escalation. When we separated, her face had gone warm and her breathing came faster. Hazel pressed one hand over her chest. My heart is wrong. I touched her wrist. It's working. It never does this during Monica's videos, Hazel said. I blinked. Monica has lost educational privileges. Hazel kept her hand over her heart. Why does it happen with you? I answered. Dopamine. Your brain wanted this, so your body reacted before you finished analyzing it. Hazel considered that. Would it happen if I kissed someone else? I answered immediately. Don't run that experiment. Her eyes lifted to mine. I added, don't practice with anyone else. Hazel asked. Only you? Held her gaze. Only me. The door shook again. Hazel smiled, unlocked it, and kept hold of my shirt as we stepped into the hallway. The girls outside looked at her flushed face, then at her fist in my shirt. Their teasing stopped. That night, from our separate bathrooms, Hazel called while I was showering. Water ran on her end too. Hazel opened with, I watched one of Monica's relationship videos. I closed my eyes. I thought we revoked her license. It showed kissing and other communication, Hazel continued. I cut in. Keep the other communication off the report. Hazel ignored that. I felt nothing. Then I remembered you and my heart started again. Forgot the water temperature. Hazel asked, is that because I like you? I answered, yes. Then she asked, do you like me? I stared at the tile. I kissed you in a locked room while people hammered on the door. Hazel considered that. So yes, I admitted. So yes. I heard water on her end and finally asked, are you showering right now? Hazel answered, yes. I pressed my palm to the wall. Why did you call during that? I had the question now, Hazel replied. Of course she did. Hazel treated emotional confusion like an emergency briefing. Then she asked, can we communicate again? Told her, use the word kiss. Hazel corrected herself. Can we kiss again? I leaned my head against the tile. Yes, later, with clothes and oxygen. Hazel sounded pleased. Good. I did not hear Serena stop outside my bedroom while the shower covered her footsteps. I learned where she had been the next morning when Alden showed me the messages she sent during the call. Serena had written, I'm outside Cameron's room. He's talking to a girl. Does he have a girlfriend? Alden answered, no. Why? Serena sent nothing else, but that was information I got the next morning. Back in the shower that night, I knew none of it. Hazel ended the call after making me promise we would talk at school. I dried off and walked back to my bedroom. When I opened the door, Serena was waiting under my blanket. That night in my bedroom, Serena was waiting in my bed, wearing a nightgown and holding the television remote. The fabric was soft, dark, and doing excellent work against my concentration. In my defense, I had just survived a shower call with Hazel. I was making decisions under hostile conditions. I stayed in the doorway. Why are you under my blanket? Serena lifted the remote. Horror movie. I pointed at the blanket. That explains the remote. Try the rest. You've been tense, Serena replied. We should relax. Then her eyes narrowed. Who are you talking to? I answered. A classmate. Serena tightened her fingers around the remote. A classmate who calls during showers? I folded my arms. Alden talks too much. Alden only told me you're single, Serena replied. That told me exactly how far her investigation had gone. I nodded toward the television. Use the movie before this interrogation gets embarrassing. Serena pushed the blanket aside and stood. Then come downstairs unless your mystery classmate already scheduled you night. The word mystery came out casual, her grip on the remote did not. I stepped aside. Lead the way. That same night downstairs, Serena chose a horror movie about a male ghost crawling from an abandoned well. Apparently, even supernatural haunting had reversed gender roles here. Serena dimmed the lights and sat close enough for our shoulders to touch. I looked at the screen. You picked this because you think I'll cling to you. Serena opened a bowl of popcorn. You're very confident. I glanced at her nightgown. You wore that to watch a ghost climb out of plumbing. It's comfortable, Serena replied. I faced the screen. Of course. The movie tested us with a mirror, then a child's bedroom. Serena stayed perfectly still through the mirror. She even checked my face afterward to see whether I had flinched. I took a handful of popcorn. Disappointed? The movie is warming up, Serena replied. Then a toy rolled across the child's floor by itself. Serena's hand stopped halfway into the popcorn. Her shoulder pressed harder against mine, and she checked my face a second time. I smiled at the screen. Her setup was losing control. Then the ghost dragged itself over the well's edge with wet hair covering its face. Serena grabbed my arm. She had picked the movie to make me cling. Now her fingers were locked around my arm. I looked down at her fingers. Comfortable? She squeezed harder. Quiet. The ghost vanished from the screen. Serena leaned forward, waiting for it to return. It appeared behind the heroine. Serena jerked against me and buried her face near my shoulder. I paused the movie. She lifted her head. Why did you stop it? I flexed my trapped arm. Because you're crushing me. Serena released me slowly. I was protecting you. Rubbed my arm. From circulation? She reached for the remote. I held it away. Say you're scared. Serena stared at me. The television had frozen on the ghost's face behind her. Serena glanced at it once and immediately looked back at me. I put the remote down and wrapped one arm around her shoulders. Serena relaxed against me after several breaths. Serena muttered, keep playing it. I gave her an exit. You can quit. Serena took the remote. I chose the movie. I let go of it. Choosing it and surviving it are different jobs. She pressed play. Serena refused to let the movie win. The nightgown and her first two checks on my face had made the setup obvious. Her fist in my shirt came from real fear now. Every time the music dropped, Serena tightened her grip. By the final scene, Serena had one fist in my shirt. Both feet were tucked against the couch. Beautiful. After the movie upstairs, Serena stopped outside my bedroom and kept glancing toward the dark hallway. I pointed across from us. Your room is right there. Serena looked toward her door. The ghost used mirrors. I reminded her. You own mirrors. So do you, Serena replied. I opened my bedroom door. You can sleep here. Sleep is the entire agreement. Serena met my eyes. You think I'll misbehave? I answered. I think your definition of family has experimental features. She almost smiled. Then Serena climbed into the bed and waited until I lay down beside her. The lights went out. Moments later, her arm crossed my chest. I warned her. Serena, Serena whispered. The hallway made a noise. I stared into the dark. It's a house. Her leg pressed against mine as she moved closer. I kept my hands above the blanket and stared at the ceiling. Serena's breathing slowed. Mine did not. I tried shifting toward the edge. Her arm tightened before she woke. Stay, Serena whispered. The request sounded honest. I stopped moving. I'm here. She fell asleep with her head against my shoulder and one hand gripping my shirt. I spent the entire night beside a beautiful woman. I wanted her, kept my boundary, and tried not to get crushed. Naturally, I got no sleep. The next morning in the bathroom, Alden sent me the first sticker. It used a photo of my annoyed face with tiny red cheeks and the caption, Angry Baby. The second sticker showed me glaring over a water bottle. The third used my exhausted face from a fitness stream. I called him immediately. Alden answered cheerfully. Good morning. Notification alerts fired behind his voice. He had uploaded the pack before checking whether civilization deserved it. I ordered, delete the pack. Alden announced, your unlicensed publicist believes in audience engagement. I opened the next sticker. You turned my face into emotional punctuation. People need options, Alden replied, sounding proud. I checked the share count. It had already passed our class group and moved through Westbridge. I said his name once. Alden. He hung up. At Westbridge minutes later, girls asked me to autograph the emoji pack. One held out her phone with the Angry Baby sticker open. Another had printed 3 stickers onto a notebook cover. A third sent the water bottle version into the school group while standing in front of me. 2 more girls waited behind them with phone cases and markers. I looked at the notebook. Why would you print that? The girl hugged it to her chest. Limited edition. I held out my hand. It became limited 30 seconds ago. Then I spotted Alden at the far end of the hall. He saw my face and ran. I chased him through the corridors while students laughed and filmed. I shouted, delete it. Alden looked back. You can't delete culture. I gained 3 steps. You made it before breakfast. That's how fast culture moves, Alden shouted. My unlicensed publicist cleared a stair rail and nearly lost one shoe. I caught the back of his jacket outside the gym. Alden twisted free, sacrificed one button, and kept running. Alden yelled, "You owe me tailoring." I chased him again. "You owe me a face." Alden ducked behind the girls waiting for autographs. They lifted their phones like shields. One girl sent me the angry baby sticker while looking directly at my face. I pointed at her screen. "Delete that." The girl checked the share count. "From my phone or human history?" Kept pointing. "Start with your phone." Alden used the autograph line as cover. "See? Organic reach." I pointed around the crowd. "You are one sentence away from becoming an unpaid patient." The autograph line closed around him. My betrayal had helpers now. By lunch, the angry baby sticker appeared under every complaint, argument, and confession in the school group. The pack raised my public status and stole another piece of privacy. Real man Backfire had reached graphic design. After class near the stairs, Hazel met me with newly cut bangs. She had trimmed them to frame her eyes and softened the rest of her hair around her face. The quiet heiress looked cute and waited for my reaction like she already knew it. "Do you like it?" Hazel asked. I looked once, then again. Yes. Her fingers touched the new bangs. "I cut them for you." I gave her the truth. "That feels dangerous to my ego." Hazel took my hand. "Come with me." I glanced toward the students still sharing my stickers. "Is this an escape or another lesson?" "Both," Hazel replied, squeezing my hand. She led me into an unused room behind the old practice hall and closed the door. Voices passed outside before we could move deeper. When footsteps stopped near the door, Hazel pulled me beneath a wide storage desk. The space was narrow. Her knees touched mine. I covered her mouth before either of us made a sound. Hazel looked at my hand, then she touched her tongue to my palm. I pulled back so fast my elbow hit the desk. Hazel whispered, "Monica's videos use that." Rubbed my elbow. "Monica is banned from education forever." Hazel touched the sore spot. "Did I hurt you?" Kept my voice low. My dignity took the desk. She leaned closer. "Can I kiss you again?" Answered, "Yes." Hazel kissed me immediately. The first kiss had been careful. This one had confidence. She caught my collar, pressed closer, and forgot to breathe between attempts. Her new bangs brushed my forehead. She had the nerve now. Her breathing still needed help. I put one hand against her shoulder and slowed her. I told her, "Breathe." Hazel took a quick breath and tried again. "Slower," I added. She watched my face. "Teach me." Guided the pace and let her follow. "Like that?" Hazel asked between breaths. I nodded. "Like that." She tried again, slower this time. Her grip relaxed. The kiss became steadier and warmer. I wanted another one. Footsteps moved away outside. Hazel stayed close. Hazel asked, "Was that better?" I answered, "Yes." Hazel smiled. "Can we practice again?" Touched her bangs. "Later." She searched my face. "Only me?" I answered, "Only you." Hazel kissed my palm once, gently this time, and climbed out from beneath the desk. I wanted another kiss. I also had Serena waiting at home and Lenora holding the only human route back to Earth. By mid-afternoon, Alden's emoji pack had escaped Westbridge. Before sunset, the CEO final boss had seen the stickers. Cross town that afternoon, Alden's emoji pack reached Lenora at work. I learned what happened from her own mouth less than an hour later. Her staff showed her the angry baby sticker, the water bottle sticker, and the rising share count. Someone suggested licensing the images through Ashby Media Group. Lenora refused, walked out of a business negotiation, and drove straight to my house. Apparently, 990 yachts, a private convoy, and a Scarlet Moon research team had finally met their natural predator. A sticker. Before sunset outside my house, Lenora's car blocked the gate and half the curb. The engine was still running. She had parked crooked. Her phone kept vibrating in one hand as she stepped out in the same suit she had worn to work. She silenced the call without looking at it. The CEO final boss had abandoned business hours because strangers were using my annoyed face in group chats. I stopped beside the gate. "Move the car." Lenora crossed the sidewalk without slowing. "Tell Alden to delete the images." I pointed toward the street. "I chased him through school. The pack is already outside Westbridge." "Make him," Lenora ordered. I shook my head. "He can't pull them back from every phone." Her expression hardened. "You protect him after he turned you into a joke?" I stepped between her and the gate. "I'm going to punish Alden personally. You don't get control over my friends." Lenora's jaw tightened. "My staff can remove the images." I held up my phone. "They can remove posts. They can't turn my face into your property." "Never called it property," Lenora replied. I gestured at the crooked car. "You left work, blocked my curb, and demanded control over every copy. Pick a better word." Then I added, "Your staff can waste the evening chasing angry baby stickers." Lenora closed the distance between us. "They wanted to monetize them." I stared at her. "Of course they did." "I refused," Lenora replied. I gave her a flat look. "Congratulations on declining to sell my face." Her phone vibrated again. Lenora turned it off. "I left a negotiation because those images are everywhere," Lenora told me. "Women are passing your face around like they have access to you." I answered, "They're stickers." They're using your face, Lenora snapped. I kept my voice level. Alden used my face. The women sharing it are enjoying a joke. Lenora moved closer. They're enjoying you. I looked her over. That complaint sounds familiar. Her eyes narrowed. Meaning? I counted the violations on my fingers. You sent 990 yachts, put a convoy outside my house, kidnapped me, and kissed me after I said no. You don't get to complain about access. Lenora stopped one step away. I protected you, lowered my hand. You keep using protection to demand access. Then why are those women allowed to keep reaching you while you keep pushing me away? Lenora demanded. I laughed once without humor. Allowed? I lifted my phone between us. Alden made a stupid pack. I'll deal with him. You left work, blocked my house, and started issuing orders over my face. I came because you refused to understand the risk, Lenora replied. I pointed at her hand as it reached for me. I understand the risk. You keep adding your hands and your orders to it. Lenora caught my wrist. I pulled against her grip. She held firm. Her phone lit with another work call. She ignored it and kept her eyes on me. The woman in front of me controlled a media company, security teams, and the only human Scarlet Moon research. My face still belonged to me. I met her eyes. Erase me from your life, Lenora. Her grip tightened. You don't mean that. I pulled again. I've refused your contract, your house, your gifts, and your stolen kiss. Which part sounded unclear? Lenora's face changed at the word stolen. She stepped close enough that the gate pressed against my back. Then Lenora released my wrist. For 1 second, I thought she had finally heard me. She grabbed the front of my shirt and pulled me close by the collar. Her phone stayed dark in her other hand. Her jaw shook with anger. I couldn't sit there while women circulated your pictures, Lenora snapped. They look at you, joke about you, and act like they can reach you. I caught her wrist at my collar. That still doesn't make me yours. Lenora pulled me closer. Do those women really think they can touch my man?